This is FanSpeak, a weekly live show where the fans of comics and its community are our guests. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the show. Oh, goodness gracious. Time is definitely flying by, and here we are finding ourselves in the middle of the very first week of June, and happy to have you guys with me. This has been quite a week for sure, and I'm kind of curious to see what you guys have to say about it. I am over here on the other side of the ocean, of course, so it's a little less for me to understand, but nevertheless, we'll certainly get ourselves through it here on FanSpeak today. And we do have some entertainment news to get into as well. Please do check out our links down below, particularly our Twitter, where if you guys want to be involved in any of our shows, you want to be a guest, or you have ideas for things you think we should talk about, or you'd like to be on the Drawn a Quarter Fan Edition, definitely hit me up and I'll get you through that process. We have a lot of fun on there, so it sounds pretty good. And we got Eric in here as well, and he says, hello, everyone. So how are you doing, Eric? I'm in here by myself, if you guys notice. Of course, I was running a little late myself, although I was on time today, I think. But that's probably why. But if Eric wants to come over here and keep me company, he can. Um, I'm here in support, Chester. Well, thank you very much. Do I need support? What happened? Uh, I almost thought you guys weren't going to be doing one today, but awesome. Yeah, that's my fault. I posted what 20 minutes late, I guess. So yeah, it's my fault. I just been running around this morning and just got back to the front of the computer. But I think I did a good job. I set the whole show up in 10 minutes. It's kind of quick, you know. But anyway, uh, I'm here. But we're in Discord, by the way. If anybody does want to jump on, it's in the live of the Discord. And let me see, is anybody waiting? Oh yeah, there he is. Let me move him over. Oh, he came in himself. Sweet. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. So
Awesome.
yeah, no, and glad you came in here to join me. Yeah, it's been a kind of a crazy morning for me. Here, over in Japan, everything is very different than it is where you are. Because everything's back to normal, and we're all working, and there's no drama whatsoever. But then again, it's Japan. There's really never any drama.
Oh, we always have drama.
That's true. But how is the drama going? I mean, what does it feel like? Is it nothing, or is it?
Shoot. Last night, I don't think really much of anything happened. Night before is pretty bad, and with pretty much over the entire country. We had 4 officers shot here in St. Louis, and the ex retired police chief was murdered outside a pawn shop.
Yeah, I saw that, and
Yeah, so
actually, one of our stories today kind of ties into that. And I saw a lot of people talking about that, and but it seems to me also that there's a whole group of people, meaning, progressives, I guess, that don't want to talk about that at all. That doesn't make sense to me. Why is that, you think?
they just, if they don't talk about it, it didn't happen. That's
Yeah,
the
but
way they feel.
it's a dead black man. Isn't that supposed to be automatic racism and something like that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially when they're supposedly protesting Black Lives Matter, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I truly don't know. I'm asking because it doesn't make any sense to us. You gotta understand that. I mean, I've been asking some questions lately, and just to try to get an understanding, and I don't really get it because, like I said, we over here in Japan, we don't really get it. I mean, I have a little bit better understanding. I mean, I'm born and raised American, but
Yeah, yeah.
I just don't
You
understand it.
know,
It's illogical. Everything that's going on is very illogical.
yeah, it is. Even here, it's illogical. It doesn't make sense to us. I mean, it's a shame that was George Floyd or Mr. Floyd, whatever his first name was, and that he died and that officer killed him. I mean, that's horrible.
Yeah.
But I mean, and if you want to protest it, protest it. But I mean, don't go killing other people and burning down cities and vandalizing veteran memorials and stuff like that. That doesn't solve anything. That doesn't help anything. That makes things worse.
Mm. Well, it does make things worse, and we're for the death of one guy, looks like we're over 100 dead from this
Yeah,
thing. I don't know the exact
yeah.
number. For some reason, these states aren't giving out numbers. Well, once again, it seems this is happening in Democratic-run places, of course, but
Yeah, yeah.
what? Why would they want to hide the number? Doesn't that just add on to their point?
But I think that well, like I said the other day in the chat when you were trying to find some videos of it, I said you gotta search protest, not riot. They want to call it all a protest. They want to avoid news that people are rioting. It just if they don't show that, I feel like it's not really happening. They can hide it from people, but everybody's got a camera now. Everybody sees everything that happens. You can't hide stuff.
That's true.
Report the truth. Stop hiding it.
No, that's a very good point. And I actually had a thought come through my head, and I could be completely wrong. You tell me otherwise. But I was very confused by the fact that it seemed to me that it's gotten to the point in the country where white equals racism. It's just automatic because
Yeah, definitely, it is.
because I didn't see anything from that. He's a bully cop. It should be about
Yeah.
police brutality, but it's automatically about racism. I didn't hear him say anything racial or he did anything racial at all. But that seems to be the point. I don't know. It's confusing.
He
And
killed someone. It shouldn't matter what color anyone is. I mean, he killed
uh,
someone.
well,
It shouldn't matter that
unless
he's black. Yeah, unless
well,
he
I
did it
mean,
because he was black. That's a
that's
different
right.
story.
But it didn't seem that. No one said that. There's no suggestion of that, but yet the whole
One
thing
of the
is going
rumors
on.
I heard that they had worked together previously as bouncers at a bar.
See, that's weird. Yeah. I just think he's a bully cop. I mean, I've
I
met
think so
plenty in
too.
my
Yeah.
life, haven't you?
Oh yeah, yeah, quite a few.
Yeah. I
I've
mean,
met the ones that want to try to get you to start a fight so they can arrest you.
yeah, those assholes. Yeah. I mean, we've all met them. We know what they look like. That's a good
Yeah,
thing about
yeah,
Japan. You don't run into bully cops here.
yeah,
I mean, I've
yeah.
never
But
seen
but
one.
I mean, there's bad apples everywhere. I mean, it doesn't mean every cop's bad, every person's bad. There's going to be bad people. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. And yeah, here Dave says they think they're LARPing and it's the purge. It's crazy. Well, I okay, I guess. But I just really shocked by all the racial. It's all seems to be racial. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with Floyd. But Dilla says,
I was
dude,
like,
I just
go ahead,
watched
Chester.
TFT. Thundero said he's friends with a bunch of white nationals. Um, he said he had a friend, I guess, but that's another one I don't get. They keep talking about white supremacists. Have you seen one?
I don't know if I've ever seen one, to be honest with you, Chester.
I mean, I've seen some racism in my life.
Yeah, I've known racist
Um,
people, but I don't know if I've ever seen a white supremacist.
no, I mean, I remember when I was young, there was those idiot neo-Nazis were running around, but they were just stupid. They were kind of like the
Yeah,
KKK. They didn't do anything really violent. They were more punks, really.
right,
Um,
right.
it's weird. John has he says also I have 8 new pairs of Nikes and a big screen TV. Well, congratulations, John.
All right,
Um,
he did his Christmas looting. Nice.
That's sweet. Chester, this country is done. You got white people bowing down to random blacks in the street and the military running from protesters, uh, which is crazy to me because, there's an easy way to deal with that, the latter. But the former, I saw a couple of those. I saw one where a lady was terrified for her life and she was bowing down and saying anything that guy wanted her to say. And I wish I was standing there because I'd baseball batted him in the head because that was just disgusted the hell out of me. And I saw another one where a couple of simp idiots are sitting there kissing BLM guys' boots, literally, and this idiot kid with his girlfriend, and it's like, dude, that is not an American who happens to be African. Of African
Right.
descent. Those are hood rats, and the only thing that's on their mind is running a train on your girlfriend, brother.
Yep.
Right? So,
Yeah, it's
was
true.
that racist?
Oh,
No, it wasn't because that's the shit they do. So why can't whites and blacks get along? You guys are out of control. Well, I don't really have a problem. I don't think Eric does. Do you have a problem,
oh,
John? I mean, you are German, John. I know you like to go the Mexican route, but
I thought John was Canadian.
He's German. Don't let him fool you. But yeah, no, it's insane, isn't it? But I don't know what to tell you. Was last night better though?
Yeah, I didn't. I get on Facebook and I'll look at this rest. They started up back when the Ferguson riots started, and they show everything that goes on across the country. They didn't have anything last night except maybe one video. Yeah, I didn't see anything.
Well, that's good. That's good.
You might
Uh,
be taking a. It's all the deaths the night before. They might have been told to lay low for a couple days before they pick back up.
well, it does seem rather organized. It seems like
Very
you have,
organized.
yeah, well, you have the Antifa going down the road, breaking the windows, and then you have BLM coming behind them stealing. So
Right.
it seems quite coordinated. I don't know why they don't flip it up sometime and let the Antifa boys get to steal stuff. You know,
Yeah, they should get some.
that seems
They need to get
racist.
something worth it.
Yeah, yeah, but they are
Saw the
about to
one
send it
his
there.
parents
So,
turned him in, took him to the police station.
oh, they did really. Yeah,
Yeah,
which one, a BLM or an Antifa?
Antifa.
Wow. Yeah.
His parents brought him to the police station and turned him in.
Ah, good. Good on them. Because they are a bunch of little punk kids.
Yeah,
Um,
they're punk kids. I mean, we were punk kids, but we didn't do stuff like this.
well, we did some rascally things, but sure, we weren't out trying to kill people. We had
Right,
no
right.
desire to burn down our local bowling alley. We went there. You know.
No, not at all. I mean, the 7-Eleven that got burnt down in St. Louis 2 nights ago, I've been to that 7-Eleven many times. It was I used to work downtown, blocks from where I worked.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are having those stories. I mean, Zach was in here telling us one in his town something got damaged, and same kind of thing. He knew it. It's there. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
thing. Why are they burning down their own neighborhoods? I mean, what are you doing? I have never understood this. I mean, this is like the first real one under Trump, but uh, you know, they had after he got elected, they were doing their thing, but
yeah.
we'll call that Obama because it was under his time. But how many times did this happen under Obama? A bunch,
Oh,
right?
in St. Louis twice.
Yeah, Baltimore too,
That's
right?
only in St. Louis twice. Yeah, for the
Hmm.
same case.
Oh well, and it seems like this one an unjustified killing, but most
Mm.
of the time it seems like it turns out that the cops were right.
Yes,
So,
it does. Yeah, yeah. We
uh,
had another. It wasn't quite a riot because they didn't tear anything up 2 years ago. It was about May. It was about the same time of the year. There was an officer that was he was you know they didn't charge they charged him, but he got off, and they were upset about it. So I mean, there was thousands of people in the street, and I was going to the Billy Joel concert at the stadium that night. They surrounded the concert. U2 canceled their concert that was 2 nights before that because of
mhm.
everything going on. But there was no violence this time. It was just people blocking stuff, getting in your way. And they tried to drown out Billy Joel, and he just playing louder. We never heard him inside the stadium at all.
That's good. Good for Billy. Uh,
And he even had, it's funny, on his piano, he had a New York Police Department coffee mug.
sure. Yeah. Oh, New Yorkers more than any place I've been. Of course, I haven't been everywhere in America, but New Yorkers love their cops. It's a weird
Yeah.
thing, actually. It's a bit weird. But yeah, the police are almost a kind of a tourist attraction in New York. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what is this here? There is literally no substantial civilian force that exists in America. The sleeping giant is a myth. Sad. Well, that's a good point, actually, John. I'm really surprised we didn't see more of that action. Of course, we might have, and they just didn't report on it. But then again, those guys are well organized, so they might have been told just to stand down and wait in the suburbs. Because if they did come out, the narrative. It's clear what the narrative would have been, right? Even though those militia guys are, well, I've seen militias that are made of all different kind of races, but
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
definitely.
yeah, it's a white supremacy thing, don't you know? Just nostalgia and wishful thinking, shameful. Yeah, no, and that actually let me bring up. I had a story I did want to cover. Let me bring that up here. Uh, so that you can see it here. Hold on a second. Where did I put that? Oh, yeah, here it is. All right. I do have a couple of stories, so let me go ahead and bring this one up. I put it in there so you could see it, Eric. Now, this I'll come back to this in a minute because it's funny. But let's do this one here. Now, I don't know if you guys know who Robert Meyer Burnett is, but he's a Star Trek guy. He's done a lot with production, and he was in the Axanar thing, which is amazing. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. If you like Star Trek, you'll love it. And I don't know. In a way, he's this weird super fan, but he's also done a lot of writing and been involved in a lot of Star Trek stuff. And he's kind of an authority on it. And he shows up on a bunch of channels talking about it. And of course, over at Collider, which has become completely irrelevant. But it's being run by the schmoes over there. Those two idiots. And he got angry and he said something, and they kicked him out of Collider because white man shut up, I guess. But let's take a look at what he said, because you got Christian Harloff, who's the boss now, and he doesn't agree with what Burnett said, so he's kicked him out. I guess he was the manager, their overall manager, or MTS manager, what that means. But anyway, let's take a look what he said. And there's a series of tweets here, and I guess this is the first one. And it says, "You want outrage? Watch this, MNFers. Honestly, F the looters. Here's the moment every gun owner really wants. You want to stop the unrest? Everyone use deadly force, shoot to kill. Every private citizen, every business owner, shoot to kill." Well, I don't, I don't really disagree. I mean, it's obviously said in anger. But if your
Yeah,
life
yeah.
is being endangered, you should shoot. And if you're going to shoot, shoot to kill. Because if you don't, then you're still in danger, right?
If you're
Uh,
gonna pull your gun, you better be ready to kill someone with
yeah,
it.
just use it. Right. Exactly. Yeah. But I get he's angry, aren't we all? But
Hmm?
because of this statement, they've kicked him out of Collider completely. Do you think in this current situation that's too much?
I think it is too much. I mean, he's obviously upset with what's going on, and he's got some outrage. But everybody's got outrage. Probably just because he's white is why he was fired,
Yeah, maybe.
kicked out. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are very
I mean,
progressive.
it is now. It is a very harsh tweet.
It is.
I mean, and probably in normal day might seem very, very harsh, but within the climate right now, a lot of people are upset.
Yeah,
Don't blame them.
I think for if I was the overall boss and I saw this, I would certainly give a reprimand. I would say tone that down, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Certainly, but I wouldn't get rid of him for a single tweet, and we see a lot of that these days, right? But the thing is, the problem for me is he continues tweeting, and it becomes less and less that you should have actually just fired him. He says, "Okay, I deleted my tweet. I only hope everyone remembers that dead man on a sidewalk who tried to do the right thing but was killed for it." And they talk about that cop, right? And y'all want me to delete my tweet because, oh no, my tweet might cause violence. Too late. That's fair. And he says, here's the thing. We live in a country where people walk into schools and kill children. No one does anything. Yet I'm pissed because a black man steps up and tries to protect a business and is killed for doing so. And I tweet about it, and everyone says, delete that. Really? Wow. Everyone in the Collider Schmodown community, RMB, whatever that means, continues to justify this aggressively offensive tweet. Okay, and they go on, and they said they because I put pressure on him and they killed him. They killed him. They fired him. Sorry. Um, is exactly the type of declaration that incites violence and murder. Well, maybe you need a little bit of violence, Robert Butler III, because it seems to be pretty one-sided.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
I don't know though. I mean, overall, he shouldn't have said it, and you could see he knew he shouldn't have, but he's still mad. I don't know. What do you think about that, Eric? I mean, this guy. I know a lot of you probably don't know who he is, but Robert Meyer Burnett, he is the authority on Star Trek. I mean, he's not nobody. You know what I mean?
Has he worked on Star Trek, or is he just like
He
a?
has. He has worked on
Yes.
Star
Oh,
Trek.
okay.
He's done
Okay.
writing. He's done all manner of things. He actually was one of the main people behind Axanar. And Axanar was really cool. I mean, that was one of the best. I guess you could call it fan fiction, but it was so good that CBS came in and tried to knock it down because it was better than what they were making.
Oh
It
wow.
was one of those situations, right? But Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter much to me because Collider is completely irrelevant and useless, and they've been that way for a couple of
Yeah.
years. So it doesn't matter on that side. I don't think he's really hurting for money, but who knows? But
He could be. I mean, if he's working, probably needs the money.
Probably,
Not everybody's going to work just for the fun of it.
that's true. But I would, for me, if I were Harloff, and things went downhill when he kind of took over anyway. But if I was Harloff, I probably would have put out a public statement denouncing the violence of his statement, and uh, I would have put him on timeout, right, just
Yeah.
to appease because the Collider is very progressive. But I don't think I would just come out and fire him like that. But
I
you
just
know,
put him on notice. I mean, maybe a few weeks off, off of the social media, and would have forgotten about it by then.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Hopefully.
There's too much going on to care about a man that gets angry about, infuriating things. Um, I was called racist today for hashtagging David Dorn. How Comics, Alan said. Well, yeah, it's the Dorn thing is really weird to me, dude. Here's an an old guy, a retired cop. I don't know if he was completely retired. I think it was like semi-retired, but it doesn't matter. Old dude. He's, not working that night. He sees a burglary in his neighborhood ongoing and goes and tries to do something about it. He is a cop, lifelong cop, and he gets shot. And I saw the video. I don't know if you guys did. But you had this hood rat up there, and he was very upset. He was like, "Oh gee, oh gee," and he was screaming at, "What the hell? You shoot him for a TV? What are you doing shooting him for a TV?" I mean, the kid was clearly very upset that this dead black man was on the street, and these other guys, of course, didn't care because they needed their TV. But he was doing what he done his whole life, right? I mean, he's a cop. Most cops are that kind of hero
Yeah.
mentality, right? But
I
yeah,
had heard different things about him, whether he was working at the pawn shop where that happened. It was something from the pawn shop that's pretty famous downtown St. Louis.
well,
Um,
nevertheless, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
I mean,
Oh
he's
no, it
just
doesn't
a
matter. I had
citizen.
heard, I'd heard it was the guy that owned the pawn shop. I heard it was. Then it came out that it was David Dorn here that was a retired captain, and his wife still works for the police force.
Yeah. But I mean, but I don't. What I don't understand, Eric, is why you can't. Like, man, that sucks, man. Stand up for this guy, but you can't because his death doesn't seem to matter for some reason. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. Is it just
Oh,
because
yeah.
he's a cop? Black
Partially, it's
lives don't
because
matter, I
he's a
suppose.
cop and he was a victim to the violence that is justified in their minds.
All right. You see what I mean
They
about the
think
logic?
totally different than we do.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. But and the whole other thing I see that's really weird is like I said, I didn't see any actual racism with the bully cop. He's just a bully cop. And you said that they actually had known each other, and of course, we know a lot more about George Floyd. And it seems every time in these cases, it's never an actual innocent person, is it? Because this guy's a
Oh no,
thug, and a criminal, and a drug head. I mean, he's all those things, right? He's
it
exactly
was
what you
like Michael
imagine.
Brown here in St. Louis,
Yeah,
Ferguson. When he was shot, only picture they would post was his graduation picture from high school.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't
Had hundreds
matter.
of pictures and stories about him being a thug. They tried to make the media tried to make him look like this innocent young child.
Yeah. Well, they never are. And of course, if we had this kind of outrage on the other side, for the white or Latino or Asian or whatever people that get shot by cops, questionably shot by cops or not, it doesn't seem to matter. If we had that kind of outrage, you'd see the same thing, right? Most of the, we know that for every 10,000 blacks that are arrested, three are shot dead. for every which seems like a high number to me. But for every 10,000 whites that get arrested, four are shot dead. So clearly, there's not racism. Matter of fact, it seems like blacks are getting a pass there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if you go look at all those white dudes shot, I bet you none of them are angels, right? You know what I mean? I'm
Probably
sure
not.
they're all criminals in some way or another, whether it's questionable or not. I mean, that's fair enough, but I'm sure there's a reason that they were in a confrontation with the police, right? No?
Oh, I agree with you 100%
Yeah.
there. Yeah, I mean, they had to do something to get the attention of the police.
Yeah.
They didn't listen or warrant out for the arrest and they got caught, something like that.
Yeah. I'm 100% with John over here in the chat, though. I mean, John jokes around a lot, and so do I. But
Mm.
I agree 100% with him, whether he's being slightly sarcastic or not. He continues, but that's what they were claiming when they said, if they riot, they'll see that we won't stand for it. That's right. They shouldn't have. Now, when they go to the suburbs, they'll say, well, if they go to my house. Uh, then they'll see a lot of bluster and talk. I think they are in shock. It's devastating to realize your culture has lost its teeth, especially to a minority population. But it happens to every culture eventually. Sure, just look at the fall of Rome. I saw a map of the USA on Facebook a few days ago. This map showed the number one search keyword on Pornhub by state. What? Overwhelming the majority of states searching chicks with dicks. This is America. Wow. Is that true?
Didn't see that one.
Those maps are mostly fake.
Well,
Just
everything
just so
seems to be
everybody
fake,
knows.
Thundero. Yeah.
Um, they release different ones every year, and they all say different things. Every other month, it says something different. So they're full of crap.
Well, I mean, I don't understand why women with a bunch of assholes would be the favorite searches. What is this? Some kind of violence porn or something?
I don't know. I don't. I don't. If that were true, as soon as you go to those websites, that'd be the very first thing you see, and it's not.
Well, Thundero seems to go to those websites.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
just how every website works. They put
I
all
know.
the most popular stuff in the front.
yeah. Well,
The stuff you've searched for will pop up, and whatever's popular is going to pop up. Yeah.
Yeah.
you would think that's the way the engine would work. Yeah. But hey, what's up, March here? But the thing is, I know John's being sarcastic in some ways, but I agree with him, dude. I agree. I mean, in this situation, not all America, clearly not. A lot of places dealt with the problem. This is happening in democratic cities, right? That's where it's happening, mainly, especially the really bad ones. But it's clear over this past more than a week, right, that the police are not going to defend you. They're not there to protect you at all. They're there to protect themselves. So as citizens, you have to protect yourself. I mean, that's a horrible thought, but that's what it is, and yet we saw a little bit of it, but we didn't really see a pushback. And I know what would happen if they did, but I'm kind of with John. I'm a bit surprised we didn't see the militia come out and just bang some of these bastards down hard. And
Um,
where are the Proud Boys? Where are all these other ones who were standing, and others that were standing up to these Antifa? There's no one in their way now. There was this pushback for a while, but there's no one in their way now. They have free reign to do whatever the hell they want.
like I've been saying, those people are watching with glee. They're not getting involved. Why would they? Why would they get in the way of these people who are doing for them what they want done, destroying Democrat leftist hellholes? It's just
Well,
what it is.
that's a fair point
They,
too.
they
Yeah.
claim they want civil war. This is what it looks like. Maybe they need to think before they speak. Just a thought.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But no, but I get John's anger. And I get you're not being sarcastic, dude. I was just trying to soften it, John. But I do kind of agree with John on this a little bit. I'm really surprised we didn't see a public pushback, a hard one. Not necessarily a murderous one, but just a pushback in general. But
Well, there was some. You just didn't see it because the media is wholly owned by globalist leftists
see
who
that
will not allow you to see it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
that's
Yeah.
a problem. Yeah, so enlighten me, dude, because I agree. It's
I
probably
can
true.
name. Let's see. I can't pronounce it, but I think it's Yakipa. There was a few other medium-sized cities that are technically suburb cities where Antifa and these idiots did try to show up and cause trouble. And you know what happened? They got their ass beat to the point where one of the guys got his shirt ripped off and his shoes ripped off, and he got sent walking down the street with barely any clothes on. Pudgy little white kid got his ass whooped on.
That's what I want to hear because a lot of them. I mean, the BLM is a little different. You got some dangerous boys in there, and you got to be careful. But the Antifa in general, they're just a bunch of teenage white boys that they have no athleticism, they have no training. I mean, we showed a picture the other day. There was six of them, and even at this age, man, I think I could have waded through them. And
Mm.
I'm not being arrogant or
In
hubris. Yeah.
in very leftist Philadelphia, there was a group of about 50 men walking around with baseball bats, beating the living crap out of any Antifa who came in their neighborhood.
Oh, see, that's what I want to hear. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
better.
You don't hear about this for a reason because they don't want it to catch on. Because if it does catch on, all of it, ends in a week.
Yeah,
It's
no,
done.
that's exactly right. It would have been over sooner if there was a real hard pushback. They wouldn't have gone into those areas. But
Hmm.
it did seem to really concentrate for me a very few, democratically run cities seem to be the main problem. Most of the country didn't really seem to have so much trouble. But
Correct.
yeah, it's hard to tell because you're right. All I'm getting is this flow of nonsense, and although Fox can be a little better, I don't know that they're completely better, dude.
No, they're not. They're
Uh,
they're owned by the same people who own the leftist side. They're just the mouthpiece to
the
keep the
counterpoint, yeah, that's
keep people
possible.
from doing exactly what you're saying, right?
Oh,
They keep
yeah,
telling them it'll be okay if we just vote harder, guys. Guys, voting put us in this mess. We're not going to solve this by voting. The only way to really solve it, the truth is the union's done. It's over. Let the left have the cities they've destroyed, make them city states, and the rest of the country can go on being what it is. Period.
that's an extreme action, though.
No, it isn't. DC's a city state.
Well, we've been through these troubles before, and we've come out the other side, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
but not like this. We are more divided in America than the history of the country. We are more divided now than we were during the Revolution. We are more divided now than we were during the Civil War.
you think
I
that's a
know.
that's a big statement right there.
I don't think it. I know it. You can look up the data on it. People have done it. You can look at the positions that are argued in Congress and what side, how pretty much everybody falls in line behind one, and then everybody falls in line behind the alternate at near perfect party parity. That has never happened before at the rate it's happening now.
Yeah.
It's over. The union's done. I don't know. It's this weird boomerism to try and hang on to this failed experiment. It failed because Marxists interjected themselves and violated our liberties.
These millennials are picking on us again, Eric.
Screw them.
Jewel says, who's one of your fellow millennials, Thundero, he says, Democrat cities, systematic racism, ergo, systematic racism in the Democratic Party. I see a lot of racism coming out of them. Mostly is where I see the racism, actually. Now Claudio's from down in South America. This could be interesting opinion here. He says it's a popularity contest. Antifa wants someone to try and stop them with violence to play victims. That is true.
Hmm.
That's straight out of the Communist Handbook, right? That is true.
Yeah.
Um,
And the real reason why you haven't seen like the more liberty minded or right wing groups, which there's millions of people in these groups, millions, why they haven't really done anything is partially I was kidding when I say they're laughing. They're not, but they're watching. And this is a perfect test run for when they have had enough and they start. I've been saying this, but people don't want to listen. This summer is going to decide everything.
well,
There may not even be an election in 2020.
you're not the only one saying it. I've heard plenty of other people saying very similar things. It's interesting. John says, "Okay, I'm on Pornhub now, and what they're pushing is black men on white women, teens in general, and sister incest. This is America." Okay, thanks, John. Well, interracial stuff has kind of always been around. Teens, well, clearly. I'm assuming they mean legal teens. And
Of course.
sister incest. What, huh? What is that? Down in Mississippi?
No, for some reason there's this weird push for incest on a lot of like degenerate circles.
Yeah,
Why?
it's the stepsister, stepmom. Yeah,
Yeah.
just don't look at porn, Chester.
Oh, I never
It's gone.
do. Yeah, I never do. I never cared for porn. Don't get me wrong. I'm not judging. You enjoy it all you want. I'm not anti-porn. I just never really been into porn, dude. It might have, even when I was a kid, but it might have been I worked in strip clubs so long.
I was about to say this. Well, you worked in a live porn.
I did, yeah, for like 12 years. Maybe that's what it is. And of course, I don't have kids in the house now, but I had kids in the house for a long time. You don't want that around them, right? You got to lead by
Right.
example. So I don't know. I've just never been a porn guy. But like I said, I'm not judging anyone. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with porn as long as you do it in moderation, as with everything, right? Let's see here. Claudia says that by letting them do what they are doing, rioters are the bad guys so far in the public eye. Well, it's true. I mean, I saw, when we saw the election in 2016, that they were shocked that Trump, from their point of view, came out of nowhere and won. And of course, what it was is people weren't answering these exit polls. Right, because they were afraid to be judged because of the violence of these people. And we're
Mhm.
seeing the same thing now, right? Because you still see Biden is up in the polls, really, right? But if you go look at other polls, like Americans who support bringing in the National Guard and military, it's like what, almost 80%. And that's probably a view of the people who are supporting Trump right now,
This
which
is
is
why I say when I say that those people who Diller's talking about why they haven't shown up, and it's weird, and I agree with them. It would look weird if I didn't know personally a lot of these people and leaders in these communities
mhm,
who are all saying the same thing. They're waiting until it's time. It's not time yet, and I know that sounds crazy, but it's not. The chaos is not when you act. You act when things are starting to get back together. That's when you make your move, because people are looking for someone to bring order. That's why they want the National Guard and the military brought in. That's why all that's
sure,
happening.
sure.
So as soon as order starts to come, that's when you show up with your demands or your solutions or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
You don't do it now in the middle of madness. You're just competing for attention at that point.
Now, of
Hey,
course,
Thundero, why do you think everything was light last night? I didn't see much of anything. Did you?
It's getting warmer. A lot of parts of the country, like I know in parts of California, especially, it was really hot yesterday.
That's
So
true. It got
people
warm here in
tend to
St. Louis
not.
too.
Yeah, people tend not to riot when it's hot. They're not going to go sweat for it. Come on now.
oh wow. Now, would you consider all of these? This is a loaded question. Warnings ahead of time. Would you find that, because I know what's going to be said, that these militias that we're talking about, kind of cryptically for some reason, are they a bunch of white supremacist groups?
No, there is some, but for the most part, the so-called white supremacists really just want the same thing that the other ones want, and to be left alone. That's it. And
Well,
if they have to, they'll fight for it.
Well, the problem I'm having with these statements is I don't know where these white supremacists are. I know there's white nationalists, but that's not the same thing. And it's
No.
kind of like Vox Day when that whole thing came on, and people are like he's the most horrible person ever. Rah, 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 rah." Okay, fine. I guess maybe he is. But because the only thing I really saw from Vox, and I didn't study this, so don't lay into me. But the only thing I saw him say was white people are under attack, we need to protect ourselves just like everyone else does, every other racial group does. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, that seems true. From a distance, it seems true. Like I said, I'm not in the middle of it. But is that not true? White people clearly under attack. I mean, you're automatically a Nazi from this demonstration that's going on. Clearly, if you're white, that means you're racist automatically. Clearly,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
So is it wrong for them to white people to come together and try to defend themselves from this aggression? Is that racism?
Shouldn't
Um,
be.
yeah, shouldn't be. It should just be people defend. I mean, the reality is, my generation, the millennials, who are the woke ones, we were raised. They're just these people are just dishonest because I wasn't raised in a racist country at all. All
No.
my icons were either black or Mexican or
Hmm.
Asian, or there's some white ones too, but there was a whole plethora of people that we were told to look up to, that we did look up to, whether they were celebrities or politicians or scientists or what have you. It had nothing to do with the color of their skin. So all of this dishonesty, that's the real problem, is the fact that they're having to lie about it to try and gain power.
Mm,
But I really don't see any problem with any group if they're being targeted specifically defending themselves.
yeah,
I
neither do
don't
I.
see it at all. I don't care if it's furries. If they a group of furries like, what, we're being targeted for whatever, okay, then defend yourself as a furry or stop being a furry. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
Furries, I don't know about, man. That's pushing.
well, come on, that's too
everybody has
pathetic
the
to pick
right
on.
everybody has a right of self-defense.
Yeah,
Everybody. It
yeah.
doesn't matter. And if you go at a collective of people, even if it's you're the one creating that collective by bunching them all together and saying they're all racists, then that collective of people has every right to defend themselves. Period.
Mm,
We either
no,
believe in the
I
right of
agree.
self-defense or we don't. It's that simple.
Oh, you were
And
going
I
to.
agree with black people who think they genuinely believe that there are ones who genuinely believe that white people and the police are out to get them. So they have to defend themselves. Okay, do it.
Yeah,
I
no.
believe in self-determination for all groups if that's what they want. If they want to commingle, cool. If they don't, then fine. Everybody go their separate ways.
Yeah,
Simple
no.
as that.
I agree in that sense. I agree with that. I know Eric wants to say something. I'll let him do it in a second, but you do got to keep in mind there is a particular kind of a unique problem within a certain part of the black community
Hmm.
that other communities don't really have a footing to understand. You get a lot of these kids, these ghetto kids. There's no one around them has a job or anything because it's all welfare, right? And that's the intention. That's why these mothers have so many of these illegitimate children. It's because they get more money, right? And
Yeah.
so these kids grow up. There's no one has a job. Mom doesn't have a job. Dad doesn't know. Well, there is no dad. All the people on the street. No one has a job. So they kind of, as you get older, of course, you understand what's happened. But as a kid, you don't think this way. It's just you don't even understand the idea of a job, right? And they grow up in this environment. They walk around the streets all day in a very isolated community, and everyone tells them white man's out to get him. Watch the white man. White man's going to get him. And of course, white man doesn't care about you at all. They have their own problems, right? But they grow up in this environment, and it's pretty easy to see why these things are happening. Why they think the way they do.
Hmm.
Right. So, I mean, you would think someone would want to address that, but I don't see anyone doing that.
Well, no, because then you have to address inconvenient truths and blame the people who are responsible, which are largely these black women who choose to live that way. No one's making them live that way. That's how they're choosing to live.
Well, like I said, it's Martin Luther King's fault.
Yeah.
No,
Good Lord.
Martin Luther King was the worst thing that happened to black people. Tell me I'm not. Tell me I'm wrong.
I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, I know what you're saying, but I wouldn't necessarily blame him specifically.
Why?
But I do
He's the
agree
one who
with you
gave him
that the
power.
that movement. Well, no, they had power. They were coming up economically. They were actually fixing a lot of their problems,
No,
and
no,
that
no, I'm
gave
not
them
talking about
power.
black people, dude. I'm talking about the white Democrats. That's who he gave power
Oh, I
to.
got you. I got you. Yeah, white liberals that Malcolm X was warning his fellow blacks about. I got you. I
No,
thought you meant black
Malcolm.
people as a general.
No, Malcolm X. He was an angry black man, but he's one of the most honest, angry black men that's ever lived in the country, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
He knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
He tried to tell him that the Democrats were just using the black people as pawns. He
Yeah.
told them, flat out told them, and they still didn't listen.
Well, that's why Farrakhan killed him, right? Because he's tied in with that, and he still is, right? But anyway, that's a diversion. But you get mad at me all you want. That's a truthful statement. Martin Luther King, I think, no matter what you think about him personally, I think he believed in what he was saying. He did want us
Hmm.
all to get along. I think he truly wanted that. You could feel it from him. But all the power he gave them is what came down and is hurt the entire country, by the way, not just the black community. But it just destroyed them. Destroyed the black community, dude. And it's gotten worse and worse. When I was a kid, you could see little pieces of it, but I mean, I'd say a 40-year period, it went from most of my friends, black friends growing up, had dads in the house, most of them, right? Or at least dads that were around. They know that's my dad, right? And they had brothers and sisters that were from the same dad, right? And in what's that 40-year period, it's gone from mostly being that to 77% of it of their families, and that's all. That's not taking a specific demographic, but the entire black population in America, 77% of them are single moms. I mean, how did that happen? How did that happen? 40 years. It seems quick for that, doesn't it? It's
That's what happens when you take away the agency of an entire group of people
yeah, I
and put them on
guess.
the government teat for life.
Because it wasn't like that when we were kids, Eric. I mean, did you
No, it
have any
wasn't.
black friends growing up? I mean, I had a bunch of them.
Yeah, I actually did. I mean, I knew their parents. I mean, they were nuclear family. I mean, it
Sure.
wasn't separated family. They came
They were
along
just,
many years. It wasn't a lot of years later. Probably started in the '90s. I'm going to guess right after probably we got out of high school and that.
I guess,
I
but I
think that's
mean,
when it started happening.
I've been traveling and outside of America so long, Most of my adult life was spent outside the States, but just when I was a kid and a teenager, it just wasn't the case. They're just They're just people. I mean, right? I mean, they would. Black guys. In my experience when I was in the states, they loved to make the black guy or the white guy joke. It was kind of a self-deprecating thing they did all the time, which I
They all
never.
made those jokes. Yeah.
Yeah, which I never got. But that's the only weird thing I remember. But it's way outside the par now. I don't know, dude. It's bizarre. Mm.
You
I
can't
gotta
make
go.
jokes like that. You can't be like that anymore.
I'll be back in one second.
One
Okay.
second, Chester says he'll be back. Let's see what the chat's saying.
Still
Let's
talking about
see what we
porn?
got. Oh boy, let's hope. Let's certainly hope so. Let's see what's Dillard's saying. Dillard's saying white supremacists love the movie Falling Down. I think just about everybody loves the movie Falling Down. That's a great movie.
Maybe.
And it'd be funny if they actually really did love that movie. I know why he's saying that. He's trying to get under my skin, but it's not going to work, John. Is the reason it's funny you say that because in that movie there is a complete like rebuttal or rebuff or whatever you want to call rebuke. There's a good word of Nazism, neo Nazis, white nationalists, all that stuff. When he goes into and he meets the guy and he is one of those and he thinks he's like him and he just basically I think he kills him and takes his stuff or something like that, or he beats him up and takes his stuff. So I don't know if they do like that movie. I think they may have missed the point of that movie.
It might
Um, let's see what else we got. Flying saucer. People that self mutilate are protected. Why not furries? It's a good question. Why not the furries? Well,
Yeah.
because the difference
Furries
is,
are persecuted.
according to the left, and this is according to them, furries choose to be furries. Trans people don't choose to be trans. Now, I don't see any actual biological data to back that up, but that's what they say.
Yeah, well, that's of course ridiculous. Everyone makes choices about everything, but
Is furry a new gender? And I haven't heard that yet.
it might be, dude. I think it's kind of hilarious. I don't get it. But the thing with the transgenders, I don't know if you guys know this, but because when I was in school, I had to take a bunch of anatomy classes. I know it seems weird for anthropologists to take anatomy classes, but we look at bones all day, right? So you have to understand anatomy, and actually, this type of surgery that they do, right? Where they kind of fold their penis inside out and put it in to create this artificial vagina. Um,
You didn't have to describe it.
yeah, okay. Well, nevertheless, but my point being is, it's a very bizarre thing to do because they'll never actually enjoy sex again because it doesn't function anymore. They took over because you're
Mhm.
male, right? You're a man. You don't work. You're not a woman. You don't work like a woman. You don't function. They can't artificially create that now. We don't have. Maybe one day they'll have technology, but they don't have it now. So I never understood this, and we've seen the progression of it get more and more, Eric. And you and I both know that there were a lot of ladies in the '70s getting tit jobs, right? Lots of them,
Yeah.
right? So it's not like these so-called transgenders couldn't have had tit jobs earlier, right? We've only seen this more in the past decade or so. We've seen a lot of this, and it's
I
been
would
an
agree with that. Yeah,
explosion.
probably the last decade, it has been an explosion. It really has. I mean, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I would
Well,
never have thought that. I thought they would just stuff the bras. I didn't
in fairness
go
to
out
the
there and get boobs.
conservatives that were, against like gay marriage and the normalization of such things, we warned you. We warned all of you that as soon as they get that one, you're going to open the floodgates to all different levels of weirdness and degeneracy, the likes of which you've never seen. And lo and behold, now we have furries running around like crazy.
Yeah, it is bizarre. But my point with the transgender thing is this. I never understood why someone would do that to themselves. You're taking away your sexuality. You're taking away your enjoyment of it. I just don't understand why you would willingly do that. It's bizarre. It's almost
Because
anti-sexual in a way.
I mean, let's be honest, religious cults have been mutilating themselves since forever.
Oh, sure, 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 sure.
Yeah.
And of course, the reason why we do circumcision, which I think is what you're touching on, the reason we do circumcision is in America particularly is because of Mr. Kellogg, the cereal guy, and
Hmm.
he was a harsh Catholic, and he could not stand all those flappers running around and all that free sex that was going on in the 20s, and he wanted to put a stop to it. So he was the one who really pushed for circumcision to be brought back, and it became the standard thing in America, which is kind of ironic to me because if you understand the history of circumcision with the Jews, they did it to punish themselves because when they were conquered by Babylon, they didn't understand why God had abandoned them, and of course, instead of blaming God, they blamed themselves, which is kind of interesting, and therefore they were making atonement to God. And that's why they circumcised themselves. It had nothing to do with cleanliness, and let me relate a story to you if you guys don't mind. I remember, what was I, 18, maybe 19 years old, and it was one of those nights. It was like a Friday or Saturday night, and we were jumping between parties, right? And we kind of ended the night at this one house, which is really ironic because it was literally a pink house that was sitting right in front of the police station. They're literally across the road from each other. But anyway, and everyone in there is a minor. And we were just drinking and playing shots and doing the things we did in the 80s. I'm sure Eric can relate. And just being kids. And somewhere in the night, the deep intellectual conversation that happens with children, and we started talking about circumcision. I think maybe it's some weird form of flirting. I'm not sure, but anyway, and I mentioned that, well, I'm not circumcised, and there was a girl in the room who actually went, "Ew!" And of course, I
Yeah.
laid into her. Not well. That would
Did you now? I'll
but
show
no.
you, you.
Well, no, because I explained to her,
Oh,
exactly where it comes from and or what it means, and of course, no one in the room knew it. It didn't change her opinion. It was ew for her, and of course, it's very, very strange because the reason they circumcise in America now, what Kellogg was going after scientifically, is that when a man is circumcised, he no longer enjoys sex at the same level as an uncircumcised man. It was literally to reduce the libido of the individual. That's the whole point, right? But yeah, mutilation is never okay. Thundero, it's never okay.
Fine,
I
but
agree. I agree.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you guys didn't like my little aside there. Come on.
it was interesting, and I'll give you that.
the history of circumcision only on FanSpeak.
Kellogg also hated masturbation too, right? Isn't that what cornflakes were invented for?
I don't know. I know he was
At least
a
heard something about that.
dogmatic religion. Yeah. Explain what you mean.
I remember it, but I don't remember the details about it. I will have to look it up sometime. We'll talk about.
Yeah, but he was a
Cornflakes
very
have something
dogmatic.
to do with uh, to prevent people from masturbation. I don't know why.
Well, he might have had tried something. You got to understand all the cereal you eat today that came out of this health movement that was going on at the end of the 19th century, the spa movement, right? And of course, Kellogg was a very successful spa owner. Well, anyway, I'm not going to get into the whole history of it, but there was a big movement because what was happening was you had these, the Industrial Revolution had been going on for quite a while. You had a lot of these hardworking people, of course, that would eat. The American diet was pretty horrible, really, but they work every day. So they were all fit and full of vim. But toward the end of the 19th century, people were becoming more lethargic. It was kind of the beginning of the couch potato, right? So you had a lot of these middle class people, particularly women, who were rather rotund and out of shape. So this whole spa movement just took off, and that's where all the bottled water and cereal and all that kind of stuff came out of that movement. And of course, it made Kellogg very powerful and rich, and he had enough push to the fact that it's normal. I don't know about these days, but when we were kids, Eric, it was normal that pretty much every boy was circumcised. That's the power and influence that guy had, right?
Well, if I have to dox myself, yes, I am circumcised.
Yeah, well, most
Yeah.
males our age
Every
are.
guy, I don't even know a guy that wasn't until I was probably in my 20s, 30s.
Yeah, well, and the reason I'm not is because my parents went to a hard-nosed North Baptist church, and of
Mm.
course the one argument I made to that girl, which I was just it was just a kid, I was a high school kid, right? But the argument I made to that room was, so what you're telling me is that you know better than God. You're going to perfect the creation of God. That's what you're suggesting. By you having to cut skin off of the male, you're adjusting the body because God wasn't good enough to get it right the first time. I mean, that's the argument they're making, right? If you're religious.
I never looked at it that way. Yeah, you're right.
So,
How
yeah,
did you know so
I've
much
always
about
been an
circumcision at that age?
oh, dude, I've been an asshole for a long time. No, I was one of those kids, dude. I was, when I read Call of the Wild, Lord of the Rings, you know how old I was?
Right now, I'm going to guess 12.
7.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was one of those kids, dude. I was voracious. I devoured libraries, dude. I mean, every day after going, when I walk home from school, um, along, and it wasn't very long. It wasn't that 10-mile joke. It was only like a mile and a half or something like that. But along my route walking back home, there was a really old New England library. It's really, really old one, right? And I go into that thing every day and I do my homework quickly. Of course, it was, high school homework. It's not very difficult.
Yeah.
But I would sit and read, and especially love to go up the top room. You weren't supposed to be allowed, but the librarian lady there, she understood what I was, and she let me do that. So I go up in the newspaper room, and they had newspapers going back to like the 18th century, really old stuff, ancient stuff, and I just go through. I just eat up those newspapers, and I'd read all the books. I don't know. I didn't read every book in that library, but damn, I got close, dude. Yeah, I read a lot.
Sounds like
Education,
it.
folks. Yeah, you do, are you a reader, Eric?
I don't read as much as I used to. I did quite a bit at one time, but just time gets away from me now.
I constantly read still. How about you, Thundera?
I do not usually books anymore though, just because they're just inconvenient. I do like reading books, but it's just so much more convenient to do it on a computer, so much faster and easier, and you don't have to have a whole stack of books and books and books and books. You can just have one computer or one laptop or one little thumb drive and hold thousands of them.
That's true. That's a wonderful thing. I love that. Actually, dude. I have tons of books around digitally around me. But Dwolf, you're right, dude. He says that was during the American eugenics big state movement. That's right. And of course, Sanger came out of that, and she's the one that created Planned Parenthood, of course, and the monstrosity that it is. Yes, God made the body. He can establish a covenant using it. Okay. All right. We gotta get into that. Dave says Chester was the kid from the Never-Ending Story. No, it's not sad. It's perfectly normal for a child to spend hours a day in a library. Knock it off. March Hare said, "Did you explain to the librarian you weren't circumcised, and that's the real reason she let you do the upper room?" No, she just understood I was one of those, kids that loved study. I was excessively studious, dude.
That
Excessively.
special kid. Let him go on up there.
That's right. It's one of them, right? Let them go, right? Well, I mean, I think she was really nice lady. and old lady. She was really, really nice. And I think she just, if you find a kid who is interested in those things, well, that's what the library's there for, right? They had a rule that you weren't supposed to go without permission into the newspaper room because those things are very fragile. And she showed me how to do it. I had these white gloves I had to wear, et cetera, et cetera. And
Was that when the papers were still in those wooden dowels?
yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Because they weren't on none of these things were on microfiche at the time. We did have microfiche downstairs, but they hadn't taken any. And those there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of newspapers going, like I said, going back to the 18th century, dude, the early 18th century. That's how old it was. And it
Wow.
was really fascinating reading those newspapers because you think the world is modern. It's not. People are talking about the same crap for hundreds of years in those newspapers. There were even UFO sightings announced in the newspapers, by the way. But yeah, no, it's really fascinating. If you have an opportunity to go look at old American newspapers, or even much older British ones, because Cambridge has been press has been pumping out for 800 years, right? Go read them. It's fascinating. It's not as archaic as you think it is. People are people, and time doesn't seem to matter much. So, well, whatever. Let's see here. Now, I did have another article or two to look at, so let's go look at those. Let me see here. Unless you had something other to add, Eric or Thundero.
Oh, I'm good. Let's move on. Unless
All
Thundero's
right,
got something.
Nope, nope.
cool. Now, this one just made me laugh. It just made me
Oh
laugh, dude.
boy.
Go ahead, Thundero. This is hilarious, dude.
Lily Wachowski claims The Matrix was born out of rage at capitalism. No, it was born out of you watching too much anime. That's what
That's
it was
right.
born out of.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. What a stupid statement. What a dumb
What
statement.
what
Look
does
who it's coming from.
anything what does anything in the Matrix have to do with capitalism?
Nothing.
Any of it?
Nothing.
Oh,
Not even
all right
not even
then.
a hint. Yeah.
Oh, these
There's
new movies are gonna be something else, boys. Woo!
yeah, right?
Get ready. They are gonna completely destroy the legacy of that first Matrix movie.
What an idiot. Yeah. Now this dude here, now I wonder if he cut it off. Has he inverted his penile? I wonder.
I do not know. I have not heard of the full story on that one.
Well, I mean, I hope he doesn't because that seems like the most insanely dumb thing to do ever. But let's see if there's any logic put to this. And of course, this is from Trent, who's going to be mocking it, I'm sure. But Lily Wachowski, who wrote and directed The Matrix with Lana Wachowski, well, they weren't at that time. We should go by their official names at the moment, please. Thank you. Recently detailed, the film was born out of a rage at capitalism and corporatized structure and forms of oppression. Wachowski, who recently made headlines after going after Elon Musk and Ivanka Trump, who stated they had taken the red pill. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right, because it was upset. How dare you? Don't you look at my movie? You're not allowed. Okay. Now, in an interview with a Hollywood Reporter, he discussed filmmaking and how it used to be different when they first made The Matrix in 1999, explaining that I got in when film was at its peak, before boards and marketers found a way to wrangle movies. Wow, you don't know anything about the history of Hollywood, do you? Eventually, all those people and institutions ended up in the room with you, and specifically behind the typewriter and behind the lens and behind the Avid. Okay. I still don't see your connection here. Let me see if I can find it. I'm a trans. Okay, you've gotten off subject. Um, let's see. They're able to go, oh my God, these films are such an important part of my coming out and my own journey. Were they? Did that have anything? So now you're changing. It's not about capitalism. It's about you becoming transgender. I don't see that either. Well, that would be a highly hidden metaphor there, if it's true. Let's see. Let's see. Matrix and states that it was born out of a lot of rage and a lot of anger. Rage at capitalism, corporate structure. Once again, no. Let's see. You ripped that off directly from anime. I don't know what the hell you're on about. Uh, jeez. And I do believe the anime specifically they took it out of was more about the worry of the oncoming growth of technology was really what it was about. The metaphor it had nothing to do with this person is talking about. So yeah, there's nothing interesting here. I guess there's no point to be made other than I'm a transgender because that seems to be the most important point here. Um, yeah, moron. All right. But here's the thing, though. How many people are going to read that headline or wherever else you find it on the internet and believe it, though? Isn't that,
Um,
yeah?
quite a lot of people.
Because most people
It's
aren't even going to read the article.
yeah, they'll just read the headline and that'll be it.
People are going to go, "Who's this Willie Wachowski?"
This is why I don't want to live with these people anymore, Chester. These leftists and these corporations that back them are insane. They're insane people, and I don't want to live with insane people.
Well, are there many around you?
Around me, no, but they still affect the politics of my nation.
Hmm. Oh, what did Dave said? Dave said Avid is the preferred digital nonlinear video editor for the film. Oh, okay. For film, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the lingo, I guess. But how about you, Eric? Do you got a lot of wackos around you?
Actually, not really. I keep them out of my life. I don't need that kind of negativity.
Yeah, that's a good point, Eric. What we've been talking about here for the on this show, whether we're more entertainment, comic book direct, specific, but we've been seeing this going on for a while. It's a lot of toxicity and hate. That's really what we see is a lot of hate, right? And it's like have a little love in your life, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't always like that. I mean, you could have different political views and hate each other, but now you can't.
Yeah, that's
It's so
fair.
much
Yeah.
negativity. I just keep it out of my life.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. And of course, there's always been political disagreement. I mean, you can go
It
back and
was just disagreements, though. I
yeah,
mean, people had their opinions, and you'd have little arguments. But I mean, nowadays, man, if there's people getting divorced because people voted for Trump,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I've heard
that might
that.
have happened. Might have happened decades ago. I never heard about it, and maybe that's what it is. But,
Well,
there's so much media around us now, but I don't think it was like that.
well, people weren't so that didn't used to be so flippant with divorce as they are these days. I mean, it didn't used to be so flippant. The only place we saw this just complete disregard for the sanctity of marriage was really in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Outside of that, and even these days, people talk about divorce rates. If you take out certain elements, the divorce rate is fairly low actually. It's not as high as you imagine it to be from at least what the TV tells you. Uh, you just have to remove certain elements because, like Hollywood, and over in that crazy land over there,
Mhm.
it is a high rate. Also, of course, among the problem we were talking about amongst the black community, I don't even think the divorce rate is very high there. I just don't think they get married from the beginning. But let's see. Capitalism. This is from DeWolf. Capitalism was born out of a rage at poverty. Uh, maybe. Dillard says Lily is pulling a Rowling. What does that mean?
J.K. Rowling. It's trying to turn the property that they made before everything got super PC into something more PC, like saying things like, "Oh, I don't know, a bunch of the characters were gay secretly," or
Oh yeah,
at
yeah,
one
yeah,
point she said something to the effect of there was a lot of orgies at the Hogwarts, like just completely losing her mind
yeah. Well,
to get those virtue points.
I don't recall there being any sexuality with the Harry Potter films at all. I mean, even a little, because it's a
Well,
kid's book.
if you ask her, there was orgies.
All right then. Well, it's her world. I suppose there are. I don't know who is it. Who is Hagrid getting at? That's what I want to know. But I don't know, dude.
Mm.
Diller says transgenderism, I would think it was a mean, was born out of the rage of not being special enough. That's probably true. We know what kind of people are around Thundero. He's making
Yeah,
accusations.
I'm actually massively surrounded by. It's weird. It's like a hodgepodge of the country. I got across the way, right near the main street, is where all the black people live. Mostly, there's a couple intermixed, but for the most part, um, on my actual street, it's a bunch of old white people and then two Asian people.
Mhm.
And then if I go over another block, it's a whole bunch of Arabs. So my area is just it's about as diverse as you can get, but it's quiet because all of the largely because the groups of white people are all bikers
Oh,
and nobody messes with them. So
that'll do it right there.
Yeah, that's the thing. The bikers don't talk much, but
no,
don't give them a hard time. But then again, the Arabs probably are the great neighbors too, though. I mean,
um, their children aren't, but they are. Like the younger men, they're very aggressive. But the as far as like the older ones, they're all chill. In fact, one of I used to do business with him all the time. His name is Gary. He changed his name from an Arab name to Gary. Um,
wow.
and he was the most just great dude to talk to. He's a lot like you, Chester, actually, except he was much more braggadocious. But he was
Uh,
a great dude.
well, I don't know. I think some people would accuse me of being highly
Oh
a
no,
high braggart. I don't know
I
why.
watched Gary one time. He's in his like I don't know 50s, 60s, older man. I watched him just straight up hitting on a 30-year-old woman one time in our shop for
Yeah,
like 25 minutes, just spitting game. I was like, damn, Gary's got some game. Gary
yeah,
was killing it.
yeah. Well, I mean, we older folk, we know how to socially communicate. I don't know
Yep.
why. It's just this bizarre thing, this thought. But yeah, I don't know. Eric's probably got game too.
What's that game? You grew up knowing how to actually talk to people in person.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's kind of the thing, which is why it's off topic, but which is why I was such a big supporter of board games because and keep in mind a lot of these neo yuppies is what we're seeing, right? These soy boys, these millennial, whatever, these useless people. A lot of them kind of led themselves into becoming a board games, and of course the old school board games are like kind of offended by it. I was like, no, it's great because board games you have to sit down and talk to people. There's no screen
Yeah.
between you, right? So but anyway, let's try to keep up with the chat here. Um, let's see, Duels. Jesus, Duel.
Diller. Look at Diller.
See, Bullet says, but I
Oh,
needed to loot this store and liberate those Nikes to fight against systematic racism. Yeah, right. It's so crazy, dude. Well,
the
it's
very racist organization known as Nike.
you're right, right. But here's the thing, though. If you are just take me for instance, right? Who do you think knows more about systematic racism? Me, a guy who has lived in Asia half his life and is literally the
Mm,
only non-Asian around him all 99% of the time. Literally, I'm the only non-Asian. It's
hmm
just me by myself, right? Or some kid in America that has Nikes on cell phones, has his little YouTube channel, or he has whatever going on. Who do you think actually knows more about systematic racism? That kid or me?
Yeah,
Right? But
exactly.
Probably
whatever.
you, but you won't be able to convince that kid of that.
No, I'm sure not. I'm sure not. Yeah. Joel says, but now these people stay in the gene pool. But success of the nation has allowed them to resist Darwin. Ooh. Oh, jeez. All right. DeWolf's not happy. Let's just someone notate that, please. Uh, March here says, what the absolute? Wasn't Harry Potter about a bunch of kids? Yeah, it's supposed to be. And it
Yeah,
used to be. I
yeah.
guarantee you, she didn't think that when she was writing it.
No,
Yeah.
no. She was just writing a mostly generic kids book, young adult book.
Yeah.
for the
Yeah,
most part. But it's good. It's well
it's
written.
fun
It's well
book, well
done.
written. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. So Dave is continuing to explain what Avid is. Thank you. By the way, I had no clue. Avid is a video editing program on steroids. It renders digital effects in real time. Even requires a special color coded keyboard. Sweet. Thanks, dude. Because I didn't know what he was talking about either. DeWolf continues, says, quiet neighbors, because they work, probably. uh, bikers, bikers are pretty femme, riding around in spandex like a bunch of weirdos. I don't know if I've seen bikers in spandex.
That's what I was laughing at. I've seen a lot of bikers in my time, and I've seen very little spandex.
He might be thinking of bicyclists.
He
Maybe
might be thinking
that's
of
probably what he's
bikers.
thinking. Yeah, kind of
Or
like
those
Chris
guys who
Cuomo.
ride those little crotch rockets and they think they're bikers. No, I mean actual bikers, part of a club. They wear their colors and stuff. And for the most part, I've never had any trouble with them. So I'm glad they're there.
Yeah, that's an off-topic. No way, DeWolf says. Go ahead, mock me. Go ahead, I'm right here. Right. But Daryl, that's an interesting conversation because it's a very truthful one. Now, I've ridden. I'm not. I wouldn't consider myself a great motorcyclist, but I've ridden the cruiser type, and I've ridden the Rice Rocket as well. And I
Hmm.
enjoy both of them. They're different type of ride. A cruiser, you're kind of laying back, enjoying it, right? With
Yep.
the Rice Rocket, you're bearing down and you're trying to get it, right? I mean, the
Hmm.
fastest I've ever been in my life was on a freaking Kawasaki, dude, right?
Yeah.
As on the ground anyway. But so I appreciate both of them for what they are. But it's true what you just said. The cruiser guys and the Rice Rocket guys, or the street bike guys, they hate each other for some reason. I don't get
Yeah,
it.
they're not
That is
friends.
true. Yeah.
Why? They're all motorcyclists. Who cares, right?
They have bikers, like actual bikers, who that's their whole identity.
It is.
They have an incredible investment personally into being bikers, and I'm fine with that. I think that's perfectly fine. I have family members who are bikers. I have one who's actually a Christian, like, minister biker, and he goes
Oh,
and ministers to other bikers, and they have their club that's a Christian ministry and missionary ministry in San Antonio. It's pretty cool. Um, and yeah, they're just it's just who they are, to the point where my uncle will literally bring his bike into the house with him every night, so nobody messes
wow.
with it. He doesn't have to worry about anybody getting near it. Like, it's just their thing, and you know what? As long as they ain't bothering me or hurting any of my people, I'm good.
Yeah, but the Rices are the same way, dude.
I know.
It's their
That's
identity,
probably why they don't like each other, because they're so similar, and
maybe.
they're just like, "Grr, I don't like you. You remind me of me." That type of thing.
Yeah,
There's a lot of that in the world. A lot of people who hate each other on opposite sides. They're not really on opposite sides. They're just very similar.
yeah. Well, that's just basic tribalism, though. That's kind of normal.
Yeah.
Bullet says same as muscle cars and tuners. That's very true too. And that's another thing. I've driven both of those. I'm currently running a tuner, and Bullet called me a
Pretty
16.
tuners.
Yeah, well, and Bullet called me a 16-year-old boy for owning a tuner. Although it's badass, Bullet. But no, I am
Nice
running
and
a
quick.
tuner, and if I was in the States, I probably would have a muscle car. But I can't even begin to think about affording such a thing here in Japan because this is.
Oof.
I don't know if you guys understand what Trump has been complaining about Japan for over these past few years, but it's if I want to own a Western car, I mean not necessarily American, just a not Japanese car, I get double taxed, double. I mean everything is doubled, right? And
Hmm.
it's outrageously expensive to own a foreign car here. That's why it's a
Because you
status symbol.
wanted a charger, didn't you?
I did. I was looking at the Charger or the Camaro, and then of course that Corvette C8 came out, and I was thinking about delaying a little bit because they are bringing out a right-hand drive version here. But it's just the overall expenses. It's just too much. I mean, I could swing it, but why put myself in a bind, right? So yeah, and then the Civic is it's not what I wanted, but what I had to do was go do research, right? I had to research and figure out, well, what's my best option for what I want because my kids are out of the house and I want a sports car again, right? For the fun of it. And I got these absolutely killer mountains and roads here, dude. It's great driving around here. So I just did my research, and the best buy is the Civic Type R, dude. that was just the best buy for me, and I love the damn thing. It's so much fun. But Chester Civic is the dream of every 16-year-old boy. Well, yeah, but they can't afford it, Bullet. Trust me. That's an expensive car, dude. It's like when you outside of Acura, it is the top of the line for Honda, right? But I get your point. I understand the imagery behind it, but I love it, man. You know, one thing I did. No, no, this is not actually the Civic is an anti-drifting car. It doesn't drift at all. But one of the things I did do, if this makes you any happier, Bullet, I didn't get that stupid giant spoiler. I didn't put that on the car. God, those things are ugly, man.
Yeah, that would just been
Big whale tail.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I hate those things, dude. I just went with a double spoiler, which is subtle and very cool. And that's a cool thing too. Here, if you were in America and you got the Type R, you would have no choice. You'd have to get the spoiler, and then if you wanted to take it off, you'd have to, take it off. But here in Japan, you pretty much have have access to the entire Civic catalog, and you can choose, pick and choose whatever you like. So I built my car what I wanted, but I personally would have rather had a muscle car because I'd like to have a classic one actually,
Oh
but
God, yes.
it's just too expensive, dude. It's so expensive here, man. Bathtub Porsche for winding roads. Yeah, those are fun too, dude. But I'm telling you, the Civic, the Honda made a good one with this 10th generation Civic, dude. They made a good one, man. It just sticks, baby. But that's way off topic. There's a lot of crotch rockets on base too. I bet you there are, DeWolf, because they're very different riding, right? I don't know how many of you guys ever spend any time riding motorcycles, but the difference between a cafe, a cruiser, and a racer, the riding is completely different. It's not like car. I mean, you can have different feels in a luxury car or whatever, but you can take a big old floater Rolls Royce and jam on it, right? But these motorcycles, the style and the feel are radically different. And actually, the Cafe is my favorite one to ride, just for the fun and the feel of riding. That new Triumph they got is freaking beautiful, man. I was looking at one a couple months ago. Yeah, whatever. I'll try to get back on topic. Let's see. March here says, "Okay, DeWolf, that's just been my experience. I can see it. It needs a Gran Torino. Yeah, there you go. Those old bikers are Nam guys, though. Are they all though, Thunder? Are they all from that
Um,
generation?
no, not the ones around here. They're all generations. It's a multi-generational deal around here. Like their dad will be in, and then the son will join, or the cousins and stuff like that.
Yeah. I never was part of any club. I never did that. We just were the kids when I was young. The kids around me just love motors, engines, right? So we drive
Hmm.
anything that had one, including bikes. But I never did that. But like I said, the problem for me was after I got out of university, I started, making money with the music, and it just took me everywhere, and eventually it took me out of the states. So over here, if I was going to ride a bike, I mean, you're pretty much racing. Well, no, you got cruisers too. But anyway, I mean, you just don't own a bike when you got kids in the house, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
I
yeah,
think a lot of these guys, like I said, it's a big identity thing for them. So it's just a big multi-generational thing now.
yeah.
A lot of them aren't even violent or anything, but
Oh no.
they can still handle themselves. Put it that way.
Well, no, but no, I'd say most bikers are not violent at all. That's kind of a Hollywood
No,
image, really.
they're
Uh,
good guys.
yeah. Those let's see, cafes are my favorite too, says Flying Star. So yeah, no, cafe is a great ride. I mean, I enjoy the cruiser. I mean, it's fun if you just want to kind of lay back and they look cool. The Ricer is I mean, those things will kill you. hmm but they're fun. But the cafe is it's just it's the way you sit on the bike, right?
Mhm.
The way your legs are under you and your back and your arms. It's just the most comfortable, fun. It's just very dynamic. The cafes, I like them. Booster says Thundero's new mic really enhances his cute accent. Uh-oh,
This guy,
you got some
he's
love.
insistent that I have an accent, and I do not.
I don't know,
He
Eric.
can't. He can't get over his own ego that he has an accent.
Oh, I see.
He doesn't like it. He hates being a Kiwi. He wishes he was American because then he'd be superior, but he's not.
that's fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
Booster, I
Uh,
love you.
March here says makes sense. My dad is a Nam vet. So's mine. Yeah. Um, cool. All right. Well, let's go to my last story I had up for today. I just kind of I just picked the three ones. Well, two ones actually, and there were some other ones here that I figured we'd look at together and decide what we wanted to talk about. I don't know if I'm interested in talking more about John Boyega because John Boyega is a young boy who doesn't seem to understand what he is or what he thinks. He's completely outside of himself because he has said the most outrageous things that are completely opposed to each other. So, well, let's not deal with the boy. White Knight creator Sean Gordon Murphy dragged on Twitter for dragged. What does that mean? For calling for the end to looting. Does that
I
mean
know what that one means.
Drag means,
chastise? Maybe.
yeah, chastised, yeah.
Okay. But why? Why would he be dragged? But we've seen their colors come out though the past week, haven't we? How many of these comic book pros have been putting up Antifa logos? I
Correct.
mean, really? I mean, how stupid are you? Really?
The only major criticism I could have, the major criticism I would have of Donald Trump right now is that he said he was going to declare them a terrorist organization. So far as I know, it has not happened. Um, it needs to happen, and everybody who's in support of it needs to be given a reckoning real quick or arrested because
Yeah,
they're a terrorist organization.
they are. And like I said, I don't know why it took so long. In Europe, the Bloc, Antifa are racist organizations. We made BLM a racist organization under Obama, didn't we?
Yes and no. I think it was. I think it depends on location. Like I know New Jersey, like last year or 2 years ago, declared Antifa a terrorist organization in the state of New Jersey. I think it was New Jersey. But I don't know. I don't know what they classify. I think BLM still just classified as an activist group, technically.
I
Mm,
think so too.
mm. Well, because
But
they're just as much terrorists.
Antifa absolutely needs to be classified as a terrorist
Oh,
organization.
sure,
They're international. They
Definitely.
do it all over the world. They just tried it in Poland a little while ago, and they got absolutely destroyed by
of
the
course,
Poles.
yeah.
Thank God for the Poles.
Polish don't play around,
Um,
dude.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't pretty. Don't go look it up unless you want to watch some just savagery. Uh, but yeah, no, Antifa needs completely at 100% added to every terrorist organization list in the country
Yeah.
and needs to be handled exactly as such.
Yeah, and if you do want to look it up, understand that you're looking for Black Bloc. That's what they've been known for most of their history.
Hmm.
But yeah, I agree 100% on that. But the thing with me and the whole Antifa thing, and of course Donald Trump's. When we see him tweet, we see his emotion, we see his opinion, right? I think
Mm,
the real problem, and I don't know if we should change it though. This is a hard point here. The handcuffs that are on Trump is called the handcuffs that are on Trump are called Kushner, right?
yes.
His son-in-law.
Hmm?
Now that guy is he is a Jewish guy. He's connected to bankers. He's directly connected to the Rothschild organization, and you can see his influence. You can see it. He's right
Hmm.
there in his ear, and he's no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You can see it, and we know from various moments that Trump he kind of understands it because he's called Kushner out for his liberalism several times, but yet he's still sitting next to him. And I get the difficulty. It's his daughter's husband, but he's not done. Trump's not dumb though. I don't know, dude. Kushner is a problem. He is a problem, but then maybe he's a good problem. What do you guys think? Because he might be a balance that Trump needs. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think Trump needs balance. I think it's so imbalanced to the left where every single major corporation in the world panders to them ceaselessly and endlessly, falls over themselves to do so. When half of the Republican establishment does the same thing, whenever something like this happens, they promise to basically pay for it. They're simps and they're cucks. I think Trump needs to be the man he was on the campaign trail, and this country will get behind him and support like never before. When he pussies out, let's just call it what it is, and doesn't do the things he says he's going to do, the things that the people want him to do, like send in the military, like declare Antifa a terrorist organization. He shows weakness, and he is not a man who can afford weakness because he has so many enemies who want him destroyed. So he desperately needs to get people like Kushner out of his ear and get people that actually support him in his ear.
Yeah, no, he is a worm tongue March Hare. You're right. He definitely is. And I guarantee you that's why he hasn't pulled that trigger on Antifa yet. I guarantee it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But leave Short Gordon Murphy alone. He's right. Looting's not good, idiots. I'm not clicking on that one because that's going to piss me off. This one where Square Enix is censoring the clothing of their characters for Western release. Once again, stupid. Let's see here. Actress Erin Kellyman. Don't even have no clue who you are.
He
Spark.
was in Solo.
Oh, there you go. Click on that Cthulhu one. Oh boy.
Oh, okay. All right. I will. That Emphas Nest could appear in the casting. Who cares about Emphas Nest? Anyway, moving on. So let's see. Cthulhu. I like Cthulhu. Smite introduces Cthulhu. Slam's creator, H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah, they've been picking on H.P. quite a bit lately. It seems to be the hate of the day for them. I don't really know why. I guess he was rather anti-immigrant. He was. But
Mm.
so what?
He
You
had
think?
a cat with an unfortunate name, and they refused to use context or any sort of nuance to understand
Oh,
why he had that cat.
you mean negro, as in
Mm,
black? The
No, he
word?
had a cat that quite literally was N-word man. That was the name of it.
Oh, really?
Um,
I didn't know that.
yeah, or it might have just been N-word, something like that. But I'm not going to say it because Twitter will have or YouTube will have a fit. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he had a cat with that name, and instead of understanding that he received the cat with that name, the cat, as far as I understand, was elderly when he got it, and that doesn't mean anything. H.P. Lovecraft, when he was writing and doing the things he was, when he existed, lived, there was different connotations in different cultures for different words.
Oh, sure.
It wasn't like it is today, where if you say that word and it turns into a big ordeal. Back then, it was far more commonplace. It was just normal, whether you like it or not. It was normal language. It was just something considered what's what I'm looking for, brash, right? It was crude. It wasn't considered completely evil like it is now by
Uh-huh.
polite society.
Yeah,
So
but I
yeah,
don't.
you could say it was wrong. He shouldn't have had the cat, but for crying out loud, the man's one of the greatest authors of all time.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
over it.
Yeah, well, and besides that, I mean, if we start making these kind of judgments, well, damn, what are we going to read? Stephen King's an absolute dickhead, right?
Well, they will
I mean, on
literally
and on
say
and
that
on.
all you shouldn't read white men at all. White men got
You
to
should
go.
you should never read Mark Twain.
Nope, don't
Mark
read Mark
Twain
Twain.
now. Wow, Mark Twain's wonderful. I love Mark Twain.
Probably the most anti-racist story written in American history, especially at the time. But don't read it because it has a bad word in it.
Yeah,
Uh,
they use that bad word a lot, even though they basically, with Huck Finn especially, make the black man a very heroic character.
oh yeah,
And
no, he does. Yeah.
I agree with Dark Admiral Marcher. If they don't like him, then stop profiting off of his work.
Actually,
Period.
excuse me. Wasn't the Night of the Living Dead the hero in that was a black guy? Wasn't that an homage to Lovecraft? I'm pretty sure it was from
Could be.
Romero, right?
Could be.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. I mean, if we start judging creators by their personal opinions, boy, you're gonna have a hard time finding anything to read, dude. I mean,
I hope history's kind to you in 100 years, creative people living today. I
uh,
can't imagine there's anything we're doing now that 100 years from now will be considered evil or wrong that maybe you're engaging in. Can't imagine anything. You must be perfect little angels, every one of you.
and they explained that they did put Cthulhu in here, other than the concerns among the player base. Well, are there actual any concerns from your actual player base? Really? Actually? I
Never
doubt
really
that.
is there?
No, it's not the player
Well,
base at all.
I think the concerns from the players are actually more that because Smite uses gods from mythology in the past and da 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 da, and Cthulhu is technically not one. He's a completely fictional, which same thing, fictional character. But I think that's a really really pedantic and like autistic take on it, to be honest. Because who cares? He's just as real as the mythological gods like Zeus and stuff that are in that game. So why does it matter? I don't really understand why anybody'd have an objection to that.
Now, this is interesting. Titan Ajax wrote, one final note. Just as we reject the ancient Mayan tradition of ritual human sacrifice, never heard anyone bring that up, we reject the racism and homophobic ideas espoused by H.P. Lovecraft. Now,
Wow.
someone's brain took a freaking detour, dude. Uh, how do you correlate those together? That's confusing to
That
me, dude.
is, you want to talk about a false equivalent straw man?
Yeah.
Holy crap!
Holy crap, dude. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
all
So
those
someone
that's
has
not,
this.
that person does not know how to argue, do proper argumentation.
no,
You can, I mean, that's a conflation completely. Like,
completely.
like
Yeah.
somebody who has a bias or a prejudice against someone, doesn't want to kill him, just doesn't want to associate. It's equated to human sacrifice. Um,
Literal murder.
Yeah,
Literal
yeah,
it's
murder.
ridiculous. They do
no,
that all the time, dude. It's an absolute
and I'm not
conflation.
saying I
Yeah.
like I like that mentality, but
Oh, don't
yeah, it's
apologize
not the
for it, dude.
same thing.
Yeah, don't apologize for it. Yeah, we get it. But no, I mean, there was a period in Lovecraft's life where I think but he had a lot. He was socially broken, right? And he had a point where he was kind of an angry guy, I think.
Yeah.
But from all the readings and things I've seen, he really didn't like immigration. He was very anti-immigrant, and at that time there was a lot of immigration coming into America, and people had fears and worries about it, just like we do now. So it's kind of understandable. I don't think his opinions were specifically directed at blacks. I think it was just immigration in general, from what I remember reading about his life. But
Well, if you're not fully on board with the global homo agenda of all borders must be open to everybody at all times, you're a racist. Just that simple. That's
yeah,
that's literally the way these corporations frame everything. If you don't 100% agree that everybody should be allowed to just waltz into your country at any time, well, you're just a racist.
yeah, it seems so. And the Evil Hat Production, these guys have absolutely thrown their virtue around excessively, and it's kind of too bad because they've made a few good games. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a really good Dresden Files board game that these guys made, and I own it. It's unique and different.
Well,
Yeah.
Jim probably would not agree with them. Butcher is not. He's fairly conservative.
Oh yeah, I'd agree. But they got the rights to do it from the family, right? But whatever. This is just more of the typical nonsense. I mean, yeah, whatever.
Well, I'm talking about Dresden Files. Jim Butcher's the
Yeah,
author.
no, I know,
Oh,
I know.
yeah.
I love the
Okay, I'm
Dresden
just making
Files,
sure.
dude. Yeah. But I don't. I don't. They weren't saying anything like that at the time. That was many years ago that board game came out, and they weren't. No one had any idea that they were thinking like that. And probably, to be fair, at the time they probably weren't. It's probably the new editors and new managers that are thinking that way, right? Because we're being infected. If you haven't noticed, that's obviously true. Alan
Really?
says, yeah. Alan says there's an earthquake in Southern California now. It keeps getting better. Well, that means I'm going to get one soon. Thanks, Alan.
See, even
What?
God wants
How
Southern
many
California.
points? How many points
Well, let's
on the
see.
Richter scale?
I don't know.
I'll bring it up over here and see. Well, maybe I will. Even God wants Southern California separated from the rest of the country. See?
5.0.
He's in on it. He's in.
Oh, that's
Was
nothing,
it
It's
Alan.
5.
5.0?
Now they wouldn't
That's
pay
not
attention
even.
to
That's not
5.0.
even an earthquake. That's a shimmy. It's an earth
Yeah.
shimmy.
Yeah. Now we get those like every other day. Yeah.
You probably experience a 5.0 when thunder roars through the air for a little while. It's not the same level of shake.
Yeah. But no, of course, be safe. The real problem with earthquakes is the length of the quake. Most of them are really
Yeah.
quick. If it's a long one, even a 5.0 can cause some trouble. But
Yeah.
the earthquakes really aren't the problem, especially these days with the building techniques we have. It's the tsunami, dude, that gets you, dude.
It's
Yeah.
really, really bad when it has a big girth as well.
Ooh, oh.
That's what she
Well,
said.
We
Yeah.
were talking about porn earlier. Why are you bringing it back up?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Here's a news story. Apparently, the mayor of Cleveland decided to call the city a butthole. So that's nice.
Uh,
The mayor called his own city a butthole.
Yeah,
oh,
the
did
Maybe,
butthole of America.
maybe he needs to light on fire the Cuyahoga and make it
Love it.
a flaming butthole.
Oh my God! Did you guys see that St. Paul mayor, that race baiter in chief? You see that guy? Now
No,
that
I
because
didn't
he,
see.
oh my God, dude, he keeps going on about how black people have such a different experience, and it's like, do they really though? Do they
Is
really?
he black?
Oh yeah, he's a black guy. Yeah,
Oh well.
yeah. But I mean,
Yeah, it's a different experience, you know. Well, then get out of your little bubbles or your little
yeah, I think
little
that's the
places where you
problem.
live in conclaves.
Yeah, I think that's the
Get out.
problem. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because they seem to think because they're always communicating with themselves that they're overly persecuted, and it's like, are you really though, dude? Because everyone has to deal with crap. It's life, right? And I think you generate a lot of their own problems. But just that dude is just race baiting left and right, and Fox keeps bringing him on, letting him do it. Which is, from
Well, they
Fox's
have to
point
have
of view, is
counterpoint.
nah, well, they do try to do that more than CNN gave that up years ago. But Fox, I guess, does
Yeah, well,
try that.
CNN is just a propaganda arm right now.
That's true. Yeah. But I don't know that guy. How does he know my experience? Exactly, DeWolf. That's the thing. It's killing me. People going on and on and on about you don't know how it is to be a black man. Well, you don't know how it is to be a Latino or an Asian or a Jew or an Arab or an Indian either. I mean,
Or,
what do you want about?
short or fat or balding or. Oh, wait, Booster's not here.
You can't criticize my lived experience. Yes, I can. I'm sorry. I can criticize you if you're a piece of shit.
That's right. Or I can criticize you for ignoring mine. Right.
It's
It
not criticizing your experience as a person to criticize your behavior. If
no.
the way you're behaving is trash, then you're being trash. Your experiences before that don't justify your trashiness.
Well,
That's simple.
they use the people like this use their skin color as an excuse for bad behavior.
Yeah.
Because they were born in this situation that they have no responsibility for the things that they do. It makes them do the things that they do because of where they were born and in the situation they were. That's just a bunch of bullshit. That just discounts any sort of responsibility at all for your conduct through your life. If you do that, you can say anything at any time, and you can just blame it on who you are, the things the trials that you have put up with in your life just by being pinched out of your mom's cooch.
Yeah, yeah, that's nice cooches. I like those. But uh, yeah, no, I just wonder how many of these conversations are going on right now, right? Because I'm kind of sick of it. Are you guys sick of it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of it. This has been getting progressively worse my entire life, dude. And here's the thing, Eric, and Slick too. When we were young, what were some of your favorite shows we used to watch? Right? Sanford and Son, Fat
Mm-hmm.
Albert, The Jeffersons, the
Mm-hmm.
All in the Family,
Mod Squad,
Mod
fucking
Squad.
Link and Mod Squad. He was the
Um,
coolest guy around.
yeah, Good Times. I mean, all of these, of course, are either all black or predominantly black or have some black
I mean,
people
and
in them.
for the longest
Yeah.
time, the Cosby Show was like the biggest thing on
Oh,
television.
in the 80s,
I mean,
yeah.
I used to watch Martin in the 90s. I thought Martin was hilarious. I loved In Living Color. I mean, and there's a whole bunch of those shows that they were fun. They were cool. They set trends,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then they accuse us now of culturally appropriating their style and stuff. And I'm just like, uh, okay, that
Well,
means okay.
funny's
One of my
funny's
favorite.
funny.
And then like movies, like one of the biggest stars of the '80s was Eddie Murphy.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
And then Denzel Washington, everybody thinks that guy's cool as all get out, right?
Yeah.
He's a cool dude, and nobody ever didn't say that dude is not handsome because he's black
Well,
and
he's
has black
short.
features.
He's really short.
Well,
Yeah.
it's Hollywood isn't known for its really tall actors.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, he's perfect in every other way, so I had to cut him down somehow, right? Because
Now
everyone
Liam
loves
Neeson,
Denzel.
the Liam Neeson's he's tall.
He is tall. Yeah, he's the same height as me, I think. Actually,
I think so. You're 6'5", 6'4".
I'm 6'3". Yeah,
I think he's taller than you.
maybe, maybe. And Flying Sauce says Jefferson's early stuff was great. It was, dude. Actually, my favorite thing from that period was Sanford and Son, dude. I love that show. That was hilarious.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Yeah.
You big dummy.
Yeah. I'm coming. I'm coming home. Yeah, Red Fox is a funny guy. The disappointing thing for me is Jamie Foxx takes his name from Red Fox, right? And Jamie Foxx isn't even a glimmer in comparison to the genius of Red Fox, right?
Oh,
He's not, dude. But yet he's up there because that's another race baiter right there. Jamie Foxx. I mean, what an ass he is, right? But anyway.
You got John Boyega right now. He's going on a tear.
Well, he's not talented at all, really. Well, he is talented, and he's not. Yeah, I shouldn't be like that. He's not that bad, but he's an idiot though because he keeps jumping all over the place. Slick. I mean, pick a side, dude. I don't.
He bounces around.
Yeah.
I haven't heard much. Oh, I'm blanking on the name of Cisco. The guy, who's the guy who plays Cisco on Deep Space Nine?
Oh yeah, no, that was a great show. That was a great show.
Yeah, I mean he's actually my favorite captain of all the Star Trek shows. I mean, and then Kirk.
Well, he's not a captain though. He's a commander or something.
Well, he became a captain later on. And
oh, did he?
Look, did you see the documentary, The Captains?
No.
I did. I have not.
Oh, so it's William Shatner going around interviewing everybody that played a captain.
That's cool. That is pretty cool.
I mean, Scott Bakula, Avery Brooks.
Avery Brooks, that's it.
Yeah, everybody, even Janeway. Avery Brooks, he's not acting. He's a little loony.
Yeah, he's had some problems, but like he's my favorite. Like he has the most gravitas in my opinion, on screen. True. So
yeah.
He's my favorite part of Spencer for Hire too.
Oh yeah. I like Bakula. He's my favorite captain. I mean, I understand Picard's probably the best captain as far as actual military man, but I like Bakula. I don't know what it was about that. I loved Enterprise, but yeah, that's interesting. What we were talking about? Oh yeah, someone else can't stand Jamie Foxx. Yeah, he's annoying, dude. He's an ass. Fred would say all kind of things about.
Did he? He didn't start out being an ass. It wasn't until after he did Ray that he asked. And
I guess he got woke. Yeah.
He got woke is what happened.
Yeah. Different Strokes. There's another one. Of course, talking about Cisco, let's say Briscoe County had, of course, the absolute god Chin, and he had a black sidekick there, and that guy was pretty cool too. What was his name? I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, what was I can see his face. I don't know his name.
Yeah,
but
long
he was
hair.
Cool.
Yeah, he was very cool, dude. He was the sensical one in the show, of course. Yeah.
Is he the same? Is he the same actor that did Show Nuff on in the Last Dragon?
I don't
him?
think so. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. No, because he's in a lot of movies. He's just a character actor usually. But I don't check that though. That would be interesting because sure enough was badass. Webster, yeah, no, dude, it goes on and on and on. That's kind of the point we're trying to make. We grew up with plenty of shows talking about all kind of people. You know why? Because America is a wide demographic, right?
That's right. Shows, music, movies, just basic style. I mean, they've influenced a lot, and then they think that's a bad thing that we like it as whites. Well, how dare you take it? And I'm like,
but it's not even that.
Why are you producing it?
That's not even that though. They're telling us that there was nothing before them. They are the saviors of the black race. They're coming in and making sure black people get into movies and TV because they've never been there before. That's what they're telling us, right? And this, what we're talking about, proves it's absolutely nonsense. right? But that's and the same for the women. Women never been around. What are you talking about? If you look at the actual history of movies, there are more famous women from movies, particularly in the early years, than there are men. I mean, in all actuality. And look what we're dealing with these idiots, right? 227. What's that?
That
It
was a
was
show.
Maid from
And was it
Jefferson.
the same? Yeah, it came, the maid on the Jeffersons. Yeah, she lived at 227. That was
Oh,
the
okay. I didn't see that one. Yeah,
yeah.
but I like the
Was that
And
Jeffersons.
you're
what was her
racist,
name?
Jefferson.
Flo? I can't
Okay,
remember.
all right, fine. And
No,
someone
no, I
mentioned
don't mean
Fresh
her name.
Prince. Will Smith. Yeah, it used to be cool.
Oh yeah, Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
That was a show that went for quite a while, and a lot of people liked it.
Yeah, no, sure. But I mean, it's just complete nonsense. We grew up, particularly in America. I mean, other countries are more homogenous, so they wouldn't have as much. But in America, we had all kinds of people, dude. I would say the most underrepresented group we have in our TV and movies and
And
stuff is probably Latinos, actually.
we didn't have a lot of Asians. There were a few here and there, but I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true. Not
like
many.
Asian like led shows. Which I always you know I always thought it was a travesty that Bruce Lee didn't get kung fu, which was there
Well,
was a whole bunch of stuff about that.
that's true. It is true.
I mean,
Democrat
David
Hollywood,
Carradine was
racism.
yeah,
Yeah.
and well, I mean, at the time, and David Carradine kind of looked a little Asian, but
Mm.
I can imagine if Bruce Lee had done a television show and played that would have been so cool.
Oh, dude, David Carradine is the most lame human to ever walk the planet. Understand that, right? I mean, lame. It's the definition of lame. Just go look in the dictionary. It's a picture right there, David Carradine. And no,
I enjoyed him as
he's not as
Frankenstein.
fixated. Did you? I can't stand David Carradine at all. Although, rest in peace. But no, I agree with that. It would have been cool.
Uh, and I did like him in Kill Bill, so I have to disagree with you. I
I don't like
liked.
Kill Bill at all. I hate that movie. But
Nah,
the thing with the Asians, though, Asians are more standoffish. They really are, and that might have something to do with it as well. Welcome Back, Carter had a great cast. It did. It did. The Sweat Hogs, right? And because there were a couple Latino-led shows. There was another one. Eric, what was that one? It was like
Chico
an
and the Man.
yeah. Chico and the Man. That's right. And there was another one too. But there's not a lot though. I mean, Asians, I agree, but Asians in general don't play with others. For me, I would say Latinos are the lowest demographic, really, when we were growing up, anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agree with that.
you didn't see a lot of them. You'd see them like in like westerns and shit, you know. But
Oh yeah, getting killed by Clint Eastwood, awesome. Those guys weren't. Those weren't our Latins. They
those
were
weren't actually
Italians.
no, they were Italians and Spanish.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, like, but you would see like Mexicans in even American made you know films, but occasionally they'd be like white people painted like they did in Native Americans as well.
Well,
So
sure. You know where Spock
you
came
know,
from, right? The actor Leonard Nimoy. He's always
mm,
playing Indians in the Western movies. Yeah.
yeah, he has that kind of stoicism look that translated well. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess. The weird thing is anybody who lives out here in the West knows a Native American, as opposed to you go back east, they all look white. They're totally mixed in.
Well, because they are. Yeah. But then again, I'm not going to get in that conversation. Now, March Hare, YouTube decided that your Kill Bill Lucy Liu was to be blocked. Now, I let it through. And normally, I won't allow Lucy Liu conversations on my channel, and there's an actual reason for it because everyone says my wife looks like Lucy Liu, and of course, I jokingly piss her off on a regular basis, saying you don't look anything like her at all. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
okay.
She hate
We'll try
her
to
or what?
avoid talking about Lucy Liu.
No, I'm just kidding. No, my wife looks quite a bit like Lucy Liu, actually.
Oh.
Yeah,
She looks Chinese.
yeah, she does. They kind of had a lot of the jokes of her being from the continent, when she was growing up. She's a little
Well,
darker skinned, and she has more Asian face. Yeah, no, Chinese face. Yeah.
well, like, I generally can usually tell the difference between Koreans, Japanese, and Chinese, and then the Southeast Asians are easy because They're all
Oh, sure.
darker,
Well, yeah,
but
they don't. They're a different race completely. Yeah. But
yeah.
yeah, no, I can tell easily. Yeah, no, my wife doesn't have that classic wide face, ultra white skin. I mean, the Japanese are the whitest people you'll ever actually meet. But no, she has more of the Chinese side of the ancestry, obviously. But she has a little bit of darker skin. She has more of the thinner face and not the wide face that most Japanese, which is weird because I guess she gets it from her dad, I suppose, because her mom is very classic Japanese beauty. But no, she looks quite a bit like Lucy Liu.
Chester, where does she get the boobs from?
That's a good question. I don't know, because her mom doesn't have them.
Well, Lucy
Jesus.
Liu doesn't have them.
Well, I mean, I'll take that difference. Thank you very much, Slick.
He's like,
Chester, were they paid for? Is that what it is?
No, no,
some
no, no, no.
some
Okay.
mysteries don't need to be solved. He says.
That's right. That's right. That's right. But it's
Gift
just
from the gods.
gift from the god. It's funny though. But let's see here. March Hare is now angry at me because my wife looks like Lucy Leo, I guess. But Barney Miller is my jam. Oh, dum 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 dum
Welcome back,
dum
Cotter,
dum
man.
dum 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 dum. I love that. Airwolf. Oh, my wife. Well, I love Airwolf, dude. Welcome back, Carter. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
We're off subject quite a bit. That's okay.
Oh,
Uh, we wanted happiness. It was the subconscious in us saying, "Be fun, have
I'm gonna
fun."
give you my kids show though. The kids shows that I did was in the '70s that I loved. $6 Million Man,
Oh
The
yeah.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh god, yeah,
yeah.
dude. What's happened with the Dukes of Hazzard?
You can't get it anymore because they have stars and bars on top of General Lee.
What's wrong with that?
Jesus.
It's
Jesus.
it's racist.
Is it, dude? I lived
That's
in
what
the
they
South
say.
for a while. There's a lot of black dudes with Confederate flags in the back of their trucks, man.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's racist.
Yeah.
They've been
Racist now.
canceled.
Yep.
They've
That never
literally been
happened.
canceled.
What
That
do you
was your
mean never
white
happened?
privilege. That was your white privilege that made you think that's what it was happening. It
Mhm.
never happened. Your
It happened in a
sickness.
different timeline. The Mandela has turned.
Yeah. There wasn't rappers who literally had songs and videos where they draped themselves in the Confederate flag talking about the South. That didn't happen, nor did they ever rap about Trump. That was all in your brain as it's your white sickness. That's all it is.
Oh,
We'll
I
cure
see.
you of your white sickness, Chester. Don't worry. Once they're done with America, they're coming to Japan. They're
Uh,
going to cure all the white men.
I think they will find an unfriendly relationship here in Japan, to be honest with you. Japanese are staunchly conservative, and you can go straight to hell if you try to tell them otherwise. They're the most stubborn people you ever meet, dude. But
Good.
yeah,
Good. The most
but
intolerant always wins. So be intolerant of their nonsense, Japan.
oh no, they are. The Asians laugh at. You do realize that America and Europe, but particularly America, is being laughed at. You're
Oh,
being
I'm totally
mocked,
aware.
right? Because what are
Leave
these
it.
idiots doing? I mean, you think Putin isn't just having the biggest old laugh and the rest of the Russians? You don't think that the Asians think it's small-minded silliness that's going on in America isn't the most hilarious thing ever? I mean, how does that make you feel as an American that you're being mocked by the world? America is being mocked because of the absolute insanity that's going on in the country.
We
Pisses me
deserve it
off,
because we tolerate this nonsense.
I guess.
And all of our corporations would rather virtue signal than truth signal and to actually say things that are true or support people who do.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yet when they go to Asia, all of a sudden they just forget about pride or whatever else. We got a Black Lives Matter except in China.
Oh, the Chinese
And
won't tolerate it. And I'm not even talking about the CCP. The Chinese themselves won't tolerate it, right?
yes,
And the Japanese just won't pay for it. The Japanese are more accommodating in that way. But they just simply won't. They won't fund it, right? They don't speak out to the Chinese like this stupid. Oh, you're stupid. Go away. The Japanese say nothing. You just simply not put their money on it, right? Um,
yes.
and yes, that was my Chinese voice. Deal with
The
it.
That was your Chinese voice?
You have a problem with Chinese voice?
worst
American
problem is,
bastard!
You want a wonton with that?
the worst problem is he can speak Mandarin. So
I
I don't know
can.
why.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Can you speak Cantonese?
No, Mandarin. Yeah. I mean, I can read Cantonese to a point, of course, because it's all the same kind of characters. But to be fair, I have enough kanji or si from the Chinese point of view to get along in Japan, but it not quite enough to get along in China because it's all kanji. Whereas here in Japan they have three alphabets, right? It's I never really put focus in it. If I did, I'd be fine, but it's not as good as it should
Can
be. Is my point, I guess.
can you write Japanese?
Of course, yeah,
Hmm,
yeah.
nice.
You do realize I teach in the university, right?
Yeah, I know, but I mean, just like it just seems like I've looked at it and I just don't think I could ever do it properly. It'd be just a mess.
Oh, it's easy. The hiragana,
My writing
katakana.
and phonetically is just a mess. So I'm trying to translate it into like the symbols, and I don't know.
Well, they only have 47 letters in hiragana, katakana. They're a little different, but they're so similar enough. It's not hard to learn. You can learn that in a couple of days, right? It's just like ABCs. The kanji is the problem but what I did was I went and studied the root core of the kanji because you'll have a kanji that will be made up of two, three, four pieces. So I went and studied the pieces so that if I see the kanji, I understand what the pieces mean, and then therefore I can extrapolate the overall meaning, right? If I don't know it, from a common use. But yeah, no, the kanji is difficult, but the other stuff is easy. Um,
Yeah, because like what I was when I've talked to Japanese, the kanji, they start telling me the little marks here, and then it changes the whole kind of
sure,
meaning of it. And I'm
sure,
like, so does a kanji end up being like a sentence or a paragraph eventually? I mean, and
sure.
they're like kinda, you know.
Yeah. No, well, I also had a little experience with that because, in university I studied the Mesopotamian languages, right? The cuneiform and stuff like that. And those languages, it depends on the one, but what comes before or what comes after can change the entire meaning of the thing. And here in with kanji, it can do similar things. So I'd already had a kind of my brain. It wasn't so alien to my brain that I couldn't get it. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's
All right.
see. Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on. March Hare says, "Not angry, just envious." Okay, I don't know. Is Lucy Leo some major hottie in America?
Who?
Lucy Liu.
Lucy, no,
Oh, not
not
anymore.
particularly.
Eh,
Even
She was
back in
for
the
a
day,
while.
she wasn't like
Yeah, she's kind of pretty girl. Oh, Waddy, right? Finished. Uh,
Tia Carrera on the other hand.
ooh.
she's a hottie. Yeah, I don't even know what she is. I mean, is she
She's some sort of
Cuban?
Asian mixed with Polynesian, I think.
I don't know. She's pretty though. That's a full-figured woman right there. Let's see. These are not the droids you were looking for. Move along. Thank you. Thank you, Flying Saucer. Three alphabets, one's enough. Right? Well, the reason why everyone on the planet speaks English is because English is very easy to learn the basics of. Now, when we get into our metaphor and all that kind of stuff, it becomes very complicated and convoluted, to be true. But
Well, our alphabet's simple, but like all of our rules are ridiculous.
Not really. They're pretty easy to follow. I can put all the general rules you need for English on a
Nah.
page.
If I mean we like if I compare English to Spanish, uh, they use basically the same alphabet. They're very simple. Like they're like most Latin languages are ridiculously simple
Yeah.
compared to English that has an exception for everything.
Well,
And
that's the problem, right? The Romance languages are and the reason is because they're older. They've had time to maturate, right, and matriculate. But English itself is very young language, and it's still going through the growing pains of cutting itself down to a perfect roundness. You know what I mean? That's the problem. That's the
I,
problem with teaching
do you think
English,
that'll
right?
ever happen though? We keep
Oh, sure.
adding shit to it.
Oh, no, no, it will. It will. Grammatically, I'm talking grammatically, right? It most certainly will. It just takes centuries for it to happen, right? But because it's such a young language, whereas all these other languages have millennia behind them, right? So they're just completed. They're finished. Yeah. But this is not something you guys would normally think about, and I didn't really think about it much either. But when I started having to be a teacher, I had to think about it, and I learned a lot about English when I started teaching it. I didn't even understand really what the difficulties were until I had to educate on it. So it was an interesting experience, really. Let's see. What is this? Putonghua? is one of my favorite languages. I don't even know what that is, dude. What language is that? Maybe one of the thousand that are in China. Maybe I don't know. Um, Korea has the cool alphabet. Well, the Koreans always want to be different, don't they? Mingnam is hot. Fair enough. Later, damn. All right, I don't know what that means. But we have come to the end of the show here. 2 hours. I feel better. You guys feel better? Was that cathartic for you?
Yeah.
Yes and
Okay.
no. Yes and no.
Why no?
Well, because I need to. I'm just going to close that and just stay off of Twitter for the rest of the night. I'm just really tired of watching these people kneel before these people. I don't know. This is why I say we need a divorce from them. This is ridiculous.
Mm,
Americans shouldn't kneel to anybody except their God. I, I don't want to live with them. Anybody who thinks kneeling is a sign of protest, you're an idiot. It is a sign of submission. You are submitting, is what you're doing.
oh. Well,
Nobody in the history of the world has ever won through submission. No one. Not Christians, not Muslims, not Jews, not any other racial group you want to talk about. The way you win is to not kneel. You stand up and you make change. If you really want change, get off your damn knees. It triggers me. It triggers me.
well, maybe they're just really bad racists that are apologizing for their horrible racism, Thunder.
They're racist and they don't even know it. Just like,
Uh,
they say we are racist and we don't even know it. Our implicit bias. You just, you come out to shoot and all of a sudden, you just hate people around you that don't look like you.
Yeah, yeah. Claudio is backing me up here. Thank you very much. English is easier, more structured. Spanish should be more difficult with all the weird crap where everything, object, nouns, is male or female. Well, in a way, that is a structure unto its own. But yeah, no, English is easier. That's in its basic form. That's why it's the world's language, right? English becomes difficult when it gets
The
into its
lingua
metaphor.
franca.
Yeah, yeah. DeWolf says, Neil. All right, thank you. Twitter needs chemo. I guess so, Alan. The metal says, Putonghua is how Mandarin refers to itself. Does it? Really? It literally means the common tongue or standard Chinese.
Putonghua?
Guo Yu is also sometimes, yes, I know, that's what I know. But that's a much older term, really. See, I didn't even know that, dude. I didn't even know that. I don't
Do you
even know
know
that term.
a beautiful language that most people have never heard spoken? I heard it because there was Mongolians in my college, so off the tongue, it sounds very beautiful, like it's very
Chinese?
fluid. No,
Chinese is a horribly
Mongolian.
Mongolian. I don't know that one. Chinese is a horribly ugly language. But I don't know Mongolian. Yeah, I bet you its roots are very similar to Japanese though. Um, but um, but yeah, I didn't even know that. Thanks, Metal. That's cool, dude. Yeah, awesome. I do know that when living in China, all the Chinese I knew called it Mandarin, literally. In Chinese. So, but that's thank you for the piece of information. Duel says Polish is even easier, great language. Yeah, we don't talk about the Poles here unless unless we're talking about
I
military
like
action.
unless
and
we're
my
talking
favorite
about where I
my
might
favorite
move.
Latin language of all the Latin languages is a very little used language, Catalan. It is just gorgeous off the tongue, as well as Welsh. Welsh is gorgeous too.
Welsh is
Um,
nice. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
so
The problem
Anyway,
with Welsh is it's so ridiculously overcomplicated. Like some of the words in that language are absurd. How long they are.
no, I
well,
agree, but the auditory of it is very nice.
Yeah,
Well, it's very similar to German in that way. And
yeah.
it's because there's so many little pieces. Whereas in English, we have so many adjectives to just very specifically mention one thing, right? And that's one of the troubles I have when I'm teaching here in Japan, is the Japanese will have one word for something, right? And we'll have a dozen, and
I
it's
love
it
that.
yeah, and they don't understand why, Slick. And the reason, of course, is because we want to be very, very specific. Because one of the things that's troublesome about English, where other languages do this all the time, you can't cut anything in English. You can't take your pronoun out. You can't reduce the sentence. It must have every word must be spoken. And most languages can, they'll modify and cut it down to a much shorter version. And of course, as a language, as a speaker, you want to be able to say something in the most the shortest and tightest way and quickest way possible. So what we did, the evolution of English came in simply creating and having all these adjectives that allowed you to be very specific, and therefore you can shorten your sentence. It's interesting that's where it comes from. But for teaching here in Japan, it's quite difficult because they don't understand the concept, and of course it adds a lot of vocabulary homework, a lot.
Yeah, well, we have so many words. I mean, and
And we do.
that's just the Oxford Dictionary, not having other glossaries and jargon, things that we put together.
Oh yeah. Oh no,
Uh,
English is
and
10
then
times larger than Japanese.
yeah, I have a question. I mean, I know we're just kind of palavering here, but as a teacher, have you ever asked your students how they hear English on their ears? Because I've asked my Mexican relatives, and they say it sounds guttural. Um,
My English?
to them. No, just English in general sounds guttural
What is it?
to them. Have you asked any of your students what to English sounds like to them?
Well, not directly, but we've had conversations that give me an understanding of it, though. They find, this is kind of specific to Japan, but they find it to be very, "Hi, what's your name? What's going on today?" That's how they see it, because Japanese it's not monotone. If you from the outside looking in, you would think it's just this incredibly monotone language. It's not, but it's so subtle. And that's the difficulty with speaking Japanese. So
So they
for
think we're sing-songing like we think
Yep.
the Chinese are sing-songing?
Oh, the Chinese would be worse than us. But yeah, no, sing song is exactly the way it goes, and I actually teach that way. I actually get the kids in class to sing, to try to help them
Mm.
because their mouths and their throats are so tight. Because this is one of the things I found here living in Japan, and I didn't really I'm not an Asian specialist, but I went and studied it, of course, because I live here. And of course, Japanese is a cold weather language. Interestingly enough, that's why I mentioned with the Mongolian, they have the same root because they're the same people, really.
Mm.
But it's a cold weather language, so their mouth and everything is very very tight, and that's why it's so monotone. Whereas English, you would think would be a cold weather language, but of course it's not because it's coming out of
Yeah,
Egypt. It's coming out of the
yeah.
deserts
Well, I
originally.
mean,
Yeah.
well, here's the question I have though, that with English, if you're speaking that way, I mean, how do you how do they tackle like inflection? Because inflection is not tonal; it's something else.
Well, I have an entire course on intonation, pronunciation, and enunciation. If you'd like to attend one of my classes, like I'm sure I could
Oh,
have
when
one.
I come over, I will. All right.
Yeah, but no, of course I have to teach that. I have whole courses just on intonation and pronunciation. Well, pronunciation, of course, but intonation and enunciation, I have entire courses on it, dude. Yeah.
Well, things like sarcasm, how do they deal with that?
Oh my God, we try to stay away from it. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
because of course they have sarcasm. Obviously, everybody does. They also have metaphor. But here's the thing: they use metaphor poetically, right? Whereas we hardly go a sentence without having some manner of metaphor in it. It's very difficult, dude. But I break down my teaching into several parts. And what I do first is I teach grammar, then I teach pronunciation, intonation, enunciation, and then I teach metaphor. These are the three basic tenets of my education system that I do. And it took a little while to perfect it, but it works pretty good. My All the kids in my school, when they take the TOEFL or TOEIC or test, I have never had a student under 800, and that's really high. Yeah,
800 out of what?
920.
Oh, that's yeah, they're doing very well.
Yeah. And of course, this allows them to go and do whatever they want to do overseas. Because TOEIC, of course, if you want to do business, it's you need to have a TOEIC license, and TOEFL is for it's more spoken language if they want to go to universities. And I've had many of my students go and take a year or two in foreign universities because their TOEFLs were so high. The point of being is the system I created seems to work pretty well. Of course, it's always something that's being adjusted, but it took a little time because it's not for me. It's not the difficulty of understanding English, of course, but there's a big difference in speaking something and then educating it, teaching it. And it took
Sure.
a little while to figure out exactly how to teach the Japanese mind English. And so what I do is I try to, because you can't teach every slang, right? You can't teach every metaphor. It's impossible. So what you have to
No,
do is
no.
teach them, how do we think, right? So I do a lot of that in classes, especially with the higher level classes, is trying to educate them on how do English speakers think. And by doing that, they can understand better for what they're hearing. But interestingly enough, I don't actually teach slang in class, though. I stay away from it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so they don't learn all the swear words and everything. They probably learn those from movies anyway, though.
Well, yeah, they know them, but Japanese itself has hardly any vulgarity in it anyway. It's just the language isn't built that way. There's very, very little vulgarity in Japanese. You'd be shocked, especially because they're sitting right next to China, and China is the most vulgar, disgusting language you'll ever find. It's worse than French, dude. I mean,
I,
seriously.
I wouldn't know the difference. I mean,
Oh no,
I
Chinese
know
is
like
so many swear
ni
words,
hao
dude.
ma is about I know, and
Okay,
she she.
Mama hoo
That's
hoo.
about it.
Yeah, Bing Hong
Yeah.
Cha. Yeah, okay, I understand. But no.
Well,
Uh,
I know I said it wrong because
yeah,
fucking tones.
that's all right, dude. But it's not. But the my point is, Chinese is excessively vulgar. It's almost like an art. In China, and it's strange to me because they're sitting right next to each other. Obviously, Japan has had huge influence from China. Everyone in Asia has, right? Before the Nara period in Japan, they were basically kind of like a colony of China anyway. They were paying taxes to them for the longest time. Of course, don't tell the Japanese that; they'll get very upset with you. But yeah, I just don't understand how that happened because, you know, they're right next to each other. The influence is incredible. But you have in Japan, there's hardly any vulgarity whatsoever, and China is the filthiest language on the planet. In China, yeah, yeah. I don't know.
So they're always saying really gross things.
Oh, they're the vulgarity is insane. Like I said, it's like an art, and they love to bring animals and sexual situations with the animals into their insults a lot.
Ew.
That's weird because
Yeah,
they don't seem to have the same like their porn. Like Japan has like ridiculous amounts of porn
does
compared
it?
to other places. I saw a show on it back in the 90s,
Okay.
at least at the time. Porn, and it was like on the History Channel. Porn was an eight at the time was like $8 billion business, and half of it came from Japan.
Oh, okay, but I do know that pornography is highly restricted in Japan, though.
Well, no, but they're allowed to go a whole lot of different ways, except they can't show certain things.
No, no, you can't. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And but I was surprised, considering like there's a lot of porn that comes out of like Russia and the Eastern Bloc and all of Europe, and then America has its stuff. But apparently, the production, at least at the time, this might have changed. I mean, but I was surprised to say when they said, yeah, 50% of it came from of the production of it came from Japan at the time.
Maybe I have no clue. I know
So
that
yeah,
it's not invasive in the culture. But anyway,
no, I mean, yeah, you would know better than I would. This is just something I saw on a show, and now as I've gotten older, I tend to kind of a jaundiced eye towards what things say in the media because they just might be blowing smoke up my ass. But that's what I heard.
well, sure, and we do become jaded to things, but no, pornography is not invasive in Japan whatsoever. Tokyo. Understand Tokyo is a different place, and I've explained that before. But if you really want to understand what Japanese culture is like, go to New England because they're a lot like the New Englanders. They're very similar culturally. They're very conservative, reserved. It takes time to make a friend. It's not something that's going to happen automatically, right?
And
Yeah.
damn Yankees.
Well, I'm just saying, you know.
I lived there for a while, so
Yeah. Well, then you understand Japanese culture because that's what they're like.
really
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
It's
What
shocking
are we
how
talking
similar.
all of? All New England or a
I'm
specific
talking
state
about the
there?
standard New England fishing town or village. Yeah,
Oh, okay. So, all right.
yeah. But anyway, let me see. The chat has had a few opinions here. Mendel says, "Yeah, I've heard it's because Mandarin has just become so common for literally everyone else in the world to call it. When dealing internationally, it's just easier to all use the same word, probably. And you also got to take into mind that as far as the Chinese is concerned, we're all a bunch of idiots. And anytime they meet someone who can actually speak Chinese, they're absolutely shocked. You must be some strange aberration." And I'm not joking. They like that because I would go around and I speak Chinese people and they look at me sideways. How does this Guai Lo know anything about speaking our language? So yeah, that makes sense. But then again, also the Chinese embraced English 100%. You go to China, most everyone you can run in, everyone speaks Chinese, speaks English, dude.
You
Right?
go anywhere, it's pretty much like that.
Unless you go to Japan, and they're the worst English speakers on the
Well,
planet, which
that's
is shocking.
because they're bigots.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. Inflection comes from the hixis, or hixis or hixis. I don't know. Dwarf's just picking on me.
Hixos?
No, I'm joking, dude. Dwarf's just picking on me. Ninja says, "Hey, beautiful people. Hope everyone is doing well. Well, I hope you're doing well too, dude. Ninja, nice to see you, dude. English is the language of pilots. I don't know what that means. Great show, guys. Later. Yeah, we're done. We're just rambling here. It's okay though. I love speaking in slang. Ninja said. Of course, we all do. The vulgarity and constant tonal changes are the two things I like most about the Chinese tongue. Yeah, for sure. I wish Junkyard Dunn was in here because he lives in Tokyo. Yeah, he would be interesting to have on the conversation. Duel says, "Is there a shoreline home companion in Japan?" I don't know what that means. Shoreline home companion? I don't know. Interesting. All right, guys. But did I just lose you guys, or you just fall asleep on me?
No, I'm here.
I'm
No,
just
I'm just
listening.
muted.
I'm trying to eat my dinner that I've been trying to eat for this
Yeah, and
whole
I gotta go
show
make some dinner
quietly.
too because I'm hungry.
I
I have
am
a
hungry
chicken I'm
too.
gonna eat.
Yeah.
Hey, dinner. I'm just sitting here drawing.
Cool.
Yeah, well, you're productive.
Yeah. Well, I do apologize. I kind of went sideways on the language thing, but it is an interesting conversation.
No, linguistics are awesome.
Yeah.
They're very. I mean, I've never gotten into it, and I only speak English and Spanglish a little bit. But I mean, I enjoy listening to the sounds of different languages, and I have to say that the most harsh language on my ear is Vietnamese. We had neighbors that lived across the way, and when the mother and father would fight, you could hear them inside our house.
Sure.
I don't know how they pushed their decibels that high, but
It's
and it was
high.
just like they're whacking pans together and like
Yeah.
stepping on cats. It's just crazy.
Yeah, Vietnamese is very high pitched. Yeah, it's true. But and of course that carries. But of course I do love language. You guys know it's what I do, kind of. But the problem for me though is the fact that I can read and write a whole bunch of languages, right? But I can't really speak any of them because I don't get practice, right? I can hear them. Like I can sit and watch a German show or a Dutch show or a French show. I can sit and watch it, and good enough. I can get it good enough. But I just can't communicate in the languages at all. I wouldn't even know where to start, which is weird. But it is what it is, I guess. So we're talking about.
He speaks in Runic as well.
No, I don't. I can read it though. That's my point. I can read and write a whole bunch of languages, but I can't speak them. I just never had some of the ones I can read and write. I've never actually spoken a word of it out loud. I don't think. But
Really?
yeah, it's weird, huh?
Hmm.
Because it's academic, right? And I picked up a whole bunch of them very quickly in a row, and of course, I'm still working on them. But it was all about. It was just an academic endeavor, right? So I never had chance to speak them or stuff, and some of them we don't even have. We don't even know what they sound like, to be honest.
So therefore, do you have you? It sounds like you probably have learned like Latin and like ancient
Oh,
Greek.
high school, dude. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sure. Yeah, didn't everybody take Latin in school?
Yeah.
I took
Well,
Latin, not in high
I did,
school,
but
but in college.
I went to a Christian academy, so that's why.
Oh. What about you, Eric? You must have took Latin in school or German.
Oh, no, I didn't take any foreign languages at all.
How?
Yeah, how did that happen?
I think.
Somehow it escaped me. No, I never
Well, yeah,
did.
but you were required 2 years of it minimum.
Apparently not in Illinois.
Well, that's interesting. Because I took Latin and German in school, and I was studying Greek
We,
for other reasons.
I don't believe we offered Latin, but we did have German and Spanish.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. What about where you went
Was
though,
that
Daryl?
ancient Greek or was it Greek Greek?
Oh, Greek, and then of course in university I studied ancient Greek, but I mean it's not that much more difficult,
Yeah.
really.
We
What?
because it was a Christian school, so for like Bible study and stuff, we studied. Apparently not English, Hebrew, Greek,
Yeah.
Latin, and then Spanish was our elective because the state doesn't recognize Hebrew, Greek, or Latin. But we didn't study them to speak them or to be like fluent in them, just enough that we could
Oh yeah.
identify patterns and words and things. But largely it was just because people like to lie about what the Bible says a lot. And when you go back to the Hebrew or the Greek or the Latin commentaries on the Greek, um, you find out how much people are lying really quickly. So that was the main reason. The Christian school I went to, they prioritized truth over everything else when it came to studying the scripture. The motto was study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Truth
Oh,
being the key word at the end of that verse.
sure.
And that was why we studied those things. Not so much to be fluent in them. Like I probably would have trouble reading it now, but if you gave me a little time, I could probably get it back. But yeah, they wanted us to have the ability to discern what they would say, discern the word of God on our own without anybody assisting us if we could.
No, of course, that's a ongoing. That has a lot to do with the conversation we had today about the problems in the world. It's the same problem, right?
Yeah.
The interesting thing about Hebrew, though, let me give you a lesson in hypocrisy here. Now,
Oh, you're talking about Hebrews. You got it.
yeah. Well, no, seriously, because I went to university, right? And you guys all know where I went. I'm not going to mention it again because you'll yell at me. But I went to university, and of course, when you get into archaeology slash anthropology, philology, and the things I studied, of course you have to study Egyptology, right?
Oh yeah.
There's no way around it, right? Now here's the thing: while you're sitting there studying your hieroglyphics and you're getting lessons where you have to translate this standard quote by Ramses or something like that, which everyone in the class has to do, right? Um, at the same time, you are required to study Hebrew. Okay. Now, why is
Mhm.
that? Now, if I were going to go to into theology or something like that, it would make sense, right? Or I was going to be a Hebrew specialist. But why is it I'm starting out in the early classes? We're all focused on Egypt 100%. Like I said, you have no choice in the matter, but you're also supposed to take supposed to take the Hebrew, the ancient Hebrew, and or just standard Hebrew. Why do you think that is, though? Right? What would be your guess? Why am I studying Hebrew right alongside Egyptian, Egyptology, and all that kind of stuff? Why do you think that is?
Well, my guess for why they did it was, I would assume, and I'm giving them the full benefit of the doubt, is because a lot of the record we have of ancient Egypt is from Hebrew writers, Hebrew historians from the
No,
day.
no, that's not true. That's not why. The reason they do it is this: Hebrew is Egyptian. They just won't admit it publicly.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, look at the hypocrisy of it, right? Because, obviously everyone wasn't going around day to day writing in hieroglyphics. I mean, Jesus, a temple language, for goodness sake. There was a day to
Yeah.
day language. You need this to make, pyramids and houses. You need language, right? And of course they did. And it was Hebrew. But they don't want to admit that because that brings up a lot of conversation they don't want to get into, right? But yet, right there
By
in
the
the
power
university,
of Ark of the Covenant, I compel you.
I'm just telling you, dude. It's right there in your university. You can see it right for yourself, but yet they won't talk about it. It's pure hypocrisy, dude. And yes,
Well, doesn't a
DeWolf,
lot of
Hebrew is
doesn't a
originally
lot of
from Ireland. I know he's probably being sarcastic, but it is, dude.
doesn't a lot of like the ancient languages derive from Egyptian period? There's a lot of words we still use today that are have Egyptian origins, including my actual real first name is actually an
Oh, sure.
Egyptian word translated into Greek, translated into English.
Oh, sure.
So,
Absolutely, yeah. Tons,
because they were
tons.
the first real, like on this side of the world anyway, first real civilization that we have any connection to that we can prove anyway.
It's
Well,
an easier place to start.
yeah,
Actually,
that's
it
what I
comes
mean.
from much further roots that have nothing to do with North Africa at all. But it's an easy
Yeah.
place to start for everybody, and that's fine. But no, dude, there's so much of our language comes from Egypt ultimately. I mean, look at your alphabet. Now it's very interesting that they moved away because they did use the Hebrew for their day to day, but English comes out of the hieroglyphics, strangely enough. Like for instance, A. Let's just take a letter, right? Now, if
Mm,
you go look at the apis, or which of course in Greek would be called alpha, what is it? Well, you have this V going up with a cross going across the top of it, right? And what? Well,
mhm,
that's of course representing a bull. That's what it is. You look at it, it's a bull. Well, over time, when it went to the Etruscans, it got tilted to the side a little bit. When it got into the Romans, etc. I mean, all through the all the different cultures, it basically eventually got turned upside down and the little ears cut off, and it became your capital A, right? It's directly from the hieroglyphic, as is
yeah.
B. B is Beth, and Beth, of course, in Egyptian, represents room. And if you look at a B and you just square it off, it's two rooms right next to each other, right? That's where it comes from.
Hmm.
Or gamma, or the C, comes from the croup, or the crook, the stick that was used to move the horses and camels along, etc., 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 etc. The entire English alphabet comes from Egyptian hieroglyphic, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's ancient Egypt has always been a passionate thing of mine, especially when I realized how much the contemporary Egyptology is full of crap. Like they're just not telling the truth. It's obvious they're not telling the truth to anybody who looks at it, and they're doing it to protect probably some nationalistic pride or something. Who knows? But or just tourism in general, maybe. But there's so much about ancient history that people accept to be true, especially in that area in the Middle East, that just simply isn't.
yeah.
There's no
Well,
evidence to back up their assertions, especially when it comes to things like the pyramids and such.
well, I could answer your question, but I'd get in trouble. So, metal, very good, dude. Everyday writing with your alphabet. Yeah, good on you, dude. Columbus had a Jewish man to speak with natives in the New World. Yeah, he did. But that's a whole nother conversation. Would get us in trouble. That's a crusade conversation. How does Moses make his
Oh,
coffee? He brews it. Oh, that's a nice
that's what
little
I was.
dad joke.
That's
Uh,
what I was chuckling at. I love a good dad joke. They're so
yeah,
wholesome and
they are.
simple.
Oh, dude, if you love dad jokes, go watch Huckabee. Governor Huckabee.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
He is. He
he
is
has
pretty
whole
good. I
shows
like
on it. It's hilarious. Waka waka. There's ancient origins to all this stuff. Of course there are. Yeah, of course it is, and it's really fascinating. I mean, even little things like the god Horus, who is the hero journey of the ancient pantheon, right? Um, he's still in our life every day. Our
it. Yep.
horizon. I mean, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, he's all around us all the time. And many things are. And of course, the interesting thing is the ancient
Whore?
language. I do believe has a different root, sir. But uh, but of course,
I'm just fucking with you.
I know all these languages all the Egyptian stuff, of course, is coming out of the Ara as well, and that's from northwestern Europe, right? And of course, we know very clearly who built Egypt originally, anyway, and that was the Shem-Suhor, which are the men of the brilliant pillars which have flame to launch them into heaven, worshippers of Horus, which I just usually say the rocket men of Horus because it's easier. But
Rocket Man.
yeah, yeah. But those are the guys who built Egypt. The Egyptians had no argument on the subject whatsoever. right? And of course, where did the Shem Suhor come from? Well, they come from like Ireland and places like that, right? That's just like the Scythians, right? Or the Scythians, I guess would probably be a better pronunciation. They're the guys who became the Hyksos, and of course the modern day, I guess they're not really related, but the ones who claim to be Jewish, they come out of the Scythians, and where the Scythian or the Scythians come from? France, right? No one talks about that, huh?
So the Franks and the Celts, the Gauls and the Celts.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah, no. How dare they? Yeah.
how dare they?
Ninja says point of order. I think he's got his finger up 4 times. A point of order. I think. New Brazil TFT. Yeah, dude, I would love to have those kind of things. I get yelled at though. I'm not allowed to talk about history. I can't talk about space. None of that.
You
So we
should
can
do
talk
just
about
a
space
history.
now.
You should do like a history, like just a dedicated history show. Damn it, cats, get the fuck off me.
I could. I could. And I do have some friends who are far more knowledgeable. I'm very much a broad knowledge person. I know a lot about a little bit of a lot of things. That's kind of my way of doing things. But I have friends in the industry who are specialists. They're amazing at stuff. I might be able to bring them on and have some conversations.
He has friends in low places.
Well, sure, they're usually in some ditch digging in some excavation. Yeah, so they are in low places. It's a good point, Slick. Yeah, awesome.
I know.
Anyway,
That's why I said.
yeah, I think we've actually probably outstayed our welcome, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I want to eat my chicken actually.
Okay, well, yeah, I need to eat something too. I need to get into town as well. Get them on. That sounds really interesting. Now I'll talk to them, see if they're
I would be
interested.
down for that. I
Yeah.
would be down to listen to that. I'd also have questions if you want to have me on, but I don't. You know me. If you tell me to shut up,
Oh,
I'll shut up.
yeah, no, these guys are very sensitive types. I think I wouldn't have anybody on at all, dude. Uh,
Too sensitive.
they are, dude. They are. Well, dude, because their livelihood. It's no joke, right? I don't have to worry about it because I'm just a translator, right? It's easy. I can have any opinion I want. There's plenty of guys who agree with more what would be considered controversial history, but they can't say it, dude. They can't. They'll lose their jobs, man.
Well, we'll have him come on, not as have him have a pseudonym.
No, I don't know. I'll talk to a couple of them, see if they're interested.
If they don't want to broadcast their theories or what what is the real thing, quote unquote, then have them come on like we do.
Mm.
We don't throw ourselves out there.
I do have connection to Professor Finkel, I don't know
Okay.
if he'd come on the show or not, but if I asked him real nice and groveled a little bit, I might be able to get him on an episode. I know that name means absolutely nothing to any of you, but he is the godfather of Mesopotamian history, dude.
Well, I would, even if I wasn't on the panel, I would be interested in that. I love history.
Yeah.
Even stuff that I'm not sure if I buy it all. I'm willing to listen.
And Professor Finkel is quite the character too, because he is exactly what you imagine Dumbledore should have been. He looks just like him. He has the worst dad jokes you ever seen in your life. And he loves to tell them. But the dude's freaking brilliant, man. Freaking brilliant. Scary, scary brilliant, right? Could they just remain anonymous? I don't know. I'll talk to a couple of them. I know a whole bunch of them wouldn't
Yeah.
come anywhere near this show, dude. They wouldn't come anywhere near it. But I'll see if I can get a couple on because, like I said, they're much more specialized than me, and they're much more knowledgeable in specific areas than I am. So.
Well, I'm gonna say right now, I'm down for a show like that, even if I'm just listening. That sounds interesting. So yeah.
DeWolf is picking. That's not how you spell his name, by the way, but DeWolf. But see, I'm surprised that none of you know who Irvin Finkel is.
I've heard the name, but that's about it.
Yeah, go check him out. He's got some stuff, man. He's pretty cool. I like Professor Finkel. Of course, I'm not friends with him. He's not my peer. He's my superior. But nevertheless, it would be cool if he came on for one, though. He's got a great sense of humor. He's a fun guy.
Homeless? Looks homeless.
Homeless? What are you talking about?
very large uncovered,
I'm sorry, you're roboting. Say it again.
very large unkept beard.
Yeah, he says philologist, right?
Me, I'm a philologist. Yeah, that's my specialty.
Well, it says he's a British philologist.
He is. That's why he's my boss.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
tells you what's what.
Oh, he's the boss. I mean, it's just you don't. He's a child. He's a really nice fellow though. But I don't know. Anyway, let's get out of here because I do need to get myself moving. Anyway, but that was fun. Interesting conversation today, and let each person have a closing comments, and we'll be moving on. Who wants to do the namaste today?
I'll do it if nobody else wants to. I don't care.
Okay, well, there you go. Thunder will do it. And for me, just be safe, guys. Hopefully, this stuff has come to an end, but it's nonsense, and just keep yourself safe. But let's start with Eric. Go ahead, dude.
Yeah, I didn't really have much, man. Just everybody be safe, but be prepared.
Yeah, fair enough. Slick.
It's pretty much what I've been advising in the last little while. Be vigilant, stay armed. I'm an American, so stay armed and keep
Yeah,
your powder dry.
yeah, fair enough. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you tomorrow for 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're doing Frazetta on Drawn and Quartered Ultimate Edition. I mean, come on
Woohoo!
now,
I'll watch
dude.
that.
Yeah. So come on back for that. And do keep in mind this Sunday, we on TFT, we are going to be doing Alex Jones. I will stay on target no matter what, because that's a fun conversation, actually. We'll have fun with Alex for sure. But
Oh yeah,
nevertheless, thank you very much. And Thundero, take us out of here, man.
known cannibal Alex Jones this Sunday, Saturday in the Discord. If you're in the Discord at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to watch the great American film, in my opinion, the greatest sports movie ever made, Rocky, the very first Rocky movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
So just show up
Yo,
like 5-10
Adrian.
minutes before that. We'll give everybody a good 10-15 minutes before we start the film, and then we'll watch it till its end. And yeah, we'll just have some fun watching a movie. Other than that, um, there's a lot of ooh man, Twitter's a bad place. Don't go to Twitter if you're having a good day because it'll turn it into a bad one real quick.
Mm.
Just remember, at the end of the day, when all this is over, I genuinely think this stuff's going to get sorted out. I take a pretty, some people would say, an extreme position that we need to break up parts of the United States. But even if that does happen, things will probably be all right. And if they're not, just remember the things that you love are who you are. What you will stand for is who you are. Find something that's worth living for. Don't worry about what's worth dying for. And everything should hopefully bring you happiness in the end, because that's really what it's all about. Everybody's going to meet the Grim Reaper one day, so hopefully we get to do it with a smile on our face.
Namaste. All right, guys. Later. Check you out tomorrow.
Das Vidanya, you hooligans.
Yeah.